Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Day 2 of the 2026 Global Force Symposium and Exhibition. Please take your seats. Our program will begin in 5 minutes. Our program will begin in 5 minutes. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Our program is about to begin. Please take your seats. Our program is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Ms. Angela Pubel, Deputy Director of AUSA's Center for Leadership.
All right. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Angela Pubel. I am the Deputy Director of AUSA's Center for Leadership. Before I turn the microphone over to Lieutenant General Smith, I'd like to briefly highlight the impact of our newest initiative, the Corporate Leadership Program. This program strengthens an organization's leadership pipeline by developing mid-level leaders who are ready to meet today's rapidly evolving business demands. Grounded in time-tested Army leadership principles, it boosts engagement, enhances retention, and aligns leadership development with organizational goals. Our approach blends keynote speakers, interactive workshops, and immersive off-site experiences led by AUSA's Leadership Education Fellows, senior leaders with decades of military and corporate expertise. Their insights connect leadership concepts to real-world challenges, strengthening individual performance and team cohesion. Through these programs, we are proud to help organizations build leaders of character who can navigate complexity, drive innovation, and lead high-performing teams. If this sounds like the right fit for your organization, we'd love to connect at ausa.org/leaders. Now, it is my honor to introduce our AUSA Vice President of Leadership and Education, Lieutenant General Retired Les Smith.
Good morning, everybody. There you go, a little better, a little more fired up today. This is great. Welcome to day 2, everybody, to AUSA's Global Force Symposium and Exposition. We hope you had a wonderful time yesterday. Y'all have a good time? Let's get a round of applause for that. That's kind of weak. You can do better. And to jumpstart our morning, we had ATI today. Thank them so much for the generous sponsorship of this morning's coffee service. Now, I'm about to get out the way so you guys can hear General Mohan. But you know, we're rivals. He went to Appalachian State. Yeah. And I went to Georgia Southern. Thank you. There are more people that said, yeah, for Georgia Southern. But we won this year 2 games to 1. So please join me in a round of applause as the presentation from our AMC Commanding General, General Mohan.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant General Chris Mohan is the Commanding General of the U.S. Army Materiel Command. In this role, he leads one of the Army's largest commands, impacting all 50 states and more than 130 countries. Lieutenant General Mohan previously served as the Deputy Commanding General, managing the day-to-day operations of the Army's logistics, enterprise, and serving as the senior commander of Redstone Arsenal, Alabama.
It's like
over the course of his career.
It is your father.
Over the course of his career. One more time.
I'm good.
He has deployed multiple times in support of Operations Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Enduring Freedom, and Iraqi Freedom. A native of Carthage, North Carolina, he commissioned into the U.S. Army in 1989 from Appalachian State University.
All right, that's good. There we go.
Graduating as a distinguished military graduate with a B.S. in criminal justice. He has an MS in national security and strategic studies from the Naval War College and an MS in military strategy from the Army War College. Please welcome Lieutenant General Mohan.
Okay, with that, I want to say good morning, everybody. As I was getting ready to come up here, one of my teammates reminded me. He said, "Hey, look, I just want to let you know. Just a couple weeks ago, I came here and listened to the band Toto play." And I said, "Well, I'm not going to be as entertaining as Toto, I'm sure, but I'm sure that a lot of you know who Toto is because you're all about my age." And so for all your Yacht Rock fans out there, and we know, you know Yacht Rock, I just want to say good morning. Hey, look, it's a tremendous honor to be here, standing once again up here in front of you. And I want to thank AUSA not only for sponsoring this event, but for all that you do for our Army. You know, the unseen power behind all the stuff that is going on. And I just want to give a big thanks and a big shout out to AUSA. Can we give them a round of applause? I know there's a bunch of senior leaders who are here. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate the partnership and the teamwork that we have as we are in a time of continuous transformation in our Army, and the personal relationships that we have that are exhibited by the folks in this room really are carrying us through some really challenging times as we push to keep up and to keep pace with the change that the world is seeing on a day-to-day business, on a day-to-day stage. So last time I stood here last year, I talked about that transformation. And just since last year, the pace continues. Look, 2 new Army commands since last year, Western Hemisphere Command and Transformation and Training Command, which is represented here by General Hodney. We're also in another hot war in the Middle East. So we always have to keep in mind the soldiers that we're trying to serve and the reasons that we serve those soldiers. But what hasn't changed since last year, since we gathered here, is the essential partnership between our military and our defense industry. And so for all our partners in defense, look, we simply can't do it without you. And that is not just something new. That has been since the very beginning of an Army, even before we had an Army. We were partnered with the defense industry, be it canning, forging, be it musket ball production, or even the food that the soldiers were eating. And so without you, we cannot deliver, integrate, and synchronize the capabilities our soldiers need to dominate on the battlefield. So I want to say thanks to all our industry partners. Also last year, I said that the only constant is change, and that our sustainment enterprise must evolve to meet the challenges ahead. I laid out a vision for transforming our organic industrial base, streamlining our processes, and enhancing the soldier experience. That vision was rooted in the simple truth: to maintain dominance, the Army must be in a state of continuous transformation. So today, I'm here to tell you what was once a vision is quickly becoming an operational reality. And we have made significant progress over the last year, but we must continue and we must move faster. We must move faster. The world, as you know, is increasingly complex, and we cannot be held captive to what we've done and the way we've done business in the past. We must ruthlessly question every process and every dollar that we spend, our tax dollars, to ensure it is producing the outcomes that our soldiers not only need, but they demand it. They demand that we are producing outcomes. And so at AMC, there's no surprise here. We remain focused on our key 3 objectives: delivering ready combat formations, reimagining the Army's organic industrial base, and enhancing the soldier's experience. And look, these are really simple because this is what my boss has told me to do. And rule number 1, right? Do what your boss tells you to do. These priorities are the pillars of our commitment to providing the right support at the right time and all the way right to the tactical edge. So what I'd like to do today is give you an update on some of the things that we have accomplished over the last year and maybe grade our paper a little bit. I also want to tell you that where we have challenges and where we need your help. So starting with the base, underpinning almost everything that we are doing is the aggressive integration of data and artificial intelligence, data analytics into everything that we do. Information is no longer just a support function, it is central to everything that we do. At the strategic level, we have continued the development of Weapon System 360, which probably 15, 16 months ago was just an idea on a whiteboard. That platform is providing leaders at every echelon now, division, corps, and even some brigades are tapping into our data to see an unprecedented review or view of our supply chain. Real-time, end-to-end, relevant information. It allows us to identify bottlenecks down to individual parts and individual suppliers helping us make data-formed decisions on total Army readiness that strengthen our entire sustainment capability. Over the past year, we've taken Weapons System 360 from the drawing board, and we continue to add enhancements to it to include artificial intelligence. And so think about the opportunity where we can say, hey, I've got $50 million to spend on M1 tank maintenance. What should we do with it? And within about 30 seconds, the Weapons System 360 platform will give us down to the bumper number of the tanks that we need to go get to overhaul. We have never had that type of information before, and so now we've got to figure out what we do with it. Also, over the last year, we have seen the realization at the Army level of the power of Weapons 360, and now that is used as the source of truth in our Total Army Readiness reviews. Everybody loves the TAR, right? Previously we were always looking backwards at USR data that was at least 30 to 45 days old. Now it's as of live data, as of the time that we pulled the screen up in front of the chief and senior leaders. So we have also begun in the past few weeks with a lot of hard work to integrate Weapons 360 into the Maven Smart System platform so that you truly have a sustainment, the beginnings of a sustainment decision support tool. And we have that live and running in our headquarters now. But we're not stopping there. We're connecting strategic visibility all the way down to our soldiers. At the tactical edge, we are giving our soldiers back their most valuable resource, which is their time, and leaders back their time. The Paraline app will reduce the time it takes to inventory equipment by at least 50%. Some testing that we've done with like the first CAV, ABCT, 80% reduction in the amount of time it takes for our soldiers to do inventories, freeing them from tedious manual processes to focus on training and readiness. And look, and here's one of the challenges we've had. We know how to work with partners to develop applications, if you will, but we've learned some really hard things about interdependency of one app to another in the digital environment, and we've taken some body shots on weapons or on Paraline, but we're going to overcome it. But getting it right will set the stage for many, many more applications that we can do to inform and to help our soldiers do their jobs on an everyday basis. And we're also re-looking the way that we do maintenance and integration of depot capability all the way down to the tactical edge. Our operational readiness program is another example of using data to enable operational readiness. We call it connecting the OIB with the tactical edge. We are embedding master artisans from our organic industrial-based sites with our next deployers to not only help unit mechanics turn wrenches, but also do that magic that happens when you take a mechanic who has got 14 or 15 years working on the M1 and pair them with a young soldier who's got 6, 8 months, maybe a year and a half. The magic happens with the skills transfer that we're seeing fantastic results. And then you overlay a data element over top of it where we're going in and selectively harvesting the dogs of the fleet, the pieces of equipment that are consuming the most Class 9 and the most man hours, and giving them systems that have come off the depot production line. So we're seeing the results. Sustained double-digit readiness increases for our combat brigades during their training and deployments, and we are selectively going after those heavy brigades that are rotating in and out of Europe, some of our highest op-tempo and highest units that are under pressure. And so what are we seeing? Double-digit readiness increases, less readiness volatility after major training events or major deployments, and then also a significant reduction in the amount of Class 9 they're consuming to the tune of about $30 million, the last one, compared to previous non-ORP brigades. This program is making a difference. The Army's recognized that. They've given us additional resources, and we're doubling down. We're going to increase not only the density of equipment that we're going to attack in our heavy brigades, but also spread the program to other high op-tempo units that need some additional maintenance help. And so I did mention repair parts, and here's a stark reality. This time last year, if you looked at how many delinquent back orders we had, we were sitting at about $400 million. We're going the wrong way, folks. I don't know if the picture's up there. Now we're sitting at about $500 million, and this is where we really need your help. Look, the message to industry, I've not changed my message. Hey, give us those parts. Our soldiers need them. And if you won't give us the part, give us access to the tech data so that we can advance manufacture them ourselves. And if you won't give us the tech data, then we're going to go after it, reverse engineer it ourselves, and we're going to build it ourselves because our soldiers are demanding that. Now, I understand that this is a two-way street. I understand that we have to be able to share data. We've got some early partnerships where you can see our demand history and we can see your capability, but we have to expand that rapidly across. And that comes from sharing data with each other and being willing to share data with each other. And so we need your help there. So speaking of building parts, we've made significant progress in our advanced manufacturing capability, carbon fiber printing, laser powder bed fusion, metal printing, 3D printing of wiring harnesses, which is really cool, and microelectronics printing to name a few. And we're not doing this on our own. We are rapidly developing and building a network of capability, organic, commercial, and academia, all working together. So in the past couple months, we've, working with our partners in DevCom, we have qualified 6 additional suppliers to be qualified suppliers of Class 9 to the United States Army. And those are all either academia or private companies. 2 weeks ago, we awarded a contract to a commercial partner to build an advanced manufacturing facility at Red River Army Depot, the first of its kind for ORB. And let me foot stomp, and that's not going to be the last one. This is a model that we're going after because we believe it works, is to bring in a totally different type of relationship, not a COCO, not a GO-GO, not a GOCO, but an entirely different type of relationship. We have currently have a newly designed digital repository that has over 1,000 parts, and that's growing every day. And what it's doing is it's empowering our soldiers at the tactical level to be able to access those parts, pull down the files, see the type of machine they've been printed on, or in the process of manufacturing those parts, and get after it. And it's not just parts. Ultimately, it'll house training aids. It will house unit-designed equipment like small UAS, et cetera, et cetera. But we're building the network. We're building the network of capability, and it starts with our relationship with you. We do have some challenges with this. The qualification process, the legacy qualification process is unwieldy, is time-consuming, and it's incredibly expensive. So what we have to do is take that qualification process that is currently at the back end of production and move it to the front end of the production process using artificial intelligence, using digital simulation and modeling. We know that we can get there, but this one's going to be hard, and this one's going to consume a significant amount of time for myself and my teammates across the Army as we do this, because then we can scale rapidly our advanced manufacturing work. Our organic industrial base. One of our priority efforts is to reimagine our organic industrial base. As the national security strategy states, a strong, capable military cannot exist without a strong, capable defense industrial base. Our ORB, our 23 depots, arsenals, and ammunition plants, we're a vital component. We're not doing it all. We are a vital component of the defense industrial base. We're making significant strides. We have a 15-year modernization plan, got great support from the Hill, and we're investing hundreds of millions of dollars to upgrade our facilities. Lake City, Tobyhanna, Rock Island are some of our priority sites, but generally every site that we have is going through some type of modernization. But to truly move at the speed of innovation, we must deepen and rethink our partnerships that we have with you, private industry. Earlier this month, the Army announced a new effort to do just that. We're looking to the private sector to co-invest in our installations, our technology initiatives, and our broader industrial base. And it's not just talk, right? It's a formal request for information. The Army is actively seeking creative financial models from joint ventures to long-term leases that supplement traditional government funding. The goal is to create a self-sustaining venture where the Army can act as a stable long-term customer. These partnerships will be essential to stimulating commercial sector, critical sectors, strengthen our supply chains, and delivering the best capacities and capabilities to our soldiers. Let me share one recent success story. The Army recently announced an enhanced use lease with Hanwha Defense USA for a propellant production facility at the Pine Bluff Arsenal in Arkansas. Hanwha plans to invest over $1 billion to build a new munitions facility. modernizing domestic production, bringing that production onshore, and strengthening the industrial base. This is a huge step forward, but we have much work to do in this space. As we look to the future, we're also unencumbering our soldiers from the baggage of the past. Since 2017, the AMC has provided property accountability relief of over 7 million pieces of Class 7 stocks. Building on the success of our MDRS facilities, we have evolved our process, our excess removal strategy into the Equipment Redistribution and Divestiture Sites, or EDRS, or ERDS. These specialized, targeted sites rapidly receive, process, and redistribute excess military equipment and critical Class 9, directly supporting critical unit conversions, maintaining that speed of change, and reorganizations which are bolstering readiness. And velocity is the name of the game as we continuously go after about 35,000 pieces that we have to harvest this year. But whether we're talking about divesting a vehicle from a brigade or excess kit from an individual, it all points to the same fundamental truth. Transformation is not about the pieces, it's about the people. Enhancing the soldier experience is a readiness imperative tied directly to recruiting and retention. That's why we're developing and delivering tools like the Soldier Equipment Asset Management System, or SEAM. SEAM empowers our soldiers to track, order, and manage their own equipment digitally, ensuring they are ready and accountable for their first assignment to their last. All soldier equipment, clothing, and equipment records have now transitioned to SEAM. We are also transforming the way we feed our soldiers, based directly on soldier feedback, a lot of shots in the face, some quality time in sitting in front of Congress. That's quality time right there. We have moved to a campus-style model complemented by food trucks and grab-and-go options. And I just do want to call out Chef Robert Irvine and his teammate Justin, who have been fundamental in helping us see ourselves and fundamentally engaged in helping us with the communication to key stakeholders of why this is important. And Chef, I just want to say thank you for what you're doing for our Army. We just had the grand opening of 42 Bistro at Fort Hood, the Army's first campus-style dining facility. The soldier response is tremendous. The one that really resonated to me was when a young soldier said, "Hey, we've been talking about this for a long time, and I can't believe the Army is actually doing this for us. We have averaged serving about 2,000 meals per day, easily doubling what that dining facility did previously, and we've basically maxed it out. We've maxed out that dining facility, and so what are we doing? We're putting another campus-style dining facility at Fort Hood on the other side of Post. 42 Bistro is now currently accounting for 25% of the meals that are being consumed across Fort Hood's dining facilities. Next up is Stackhouse Bistro that'll open next month at Fort Carson, with Fort Drum, Fort Bragg, and Fort Stewart coming soon after that. We also have just recently released another request for proposal for an additional 6 installations in the continental United States, and we have plans to move to Hawaii, Alaska, Korea, Europe, and Italy in the very, very near future. The mandate I have from the Secretary and the Chief is very clear, very clear. Move out and move as fast as possible, because this is a fundamental change. Dietitian in the facility, multiple recipes, multiple options, high protein. I'll just tell you, it's lights out. It is lights out, and we're incredibly proud of the teamwork that we have accomplished with our teammate Compass Group. And from real-time installation information, we've also continued to expand the My Army Post app to give our soldiers and their families the quality of life they deserve. The app is live at all 63 installations, 5 readiness centers, and we have over 250,000 downloads as of today, which last year this time, grading our paper, we were at 72,000. We've also seen My Army Post app to be a great information for gates, but also when 3ID had an active shooter earlier this year, they used the My Army Post app to push information out to the local community, push information out to those families that were impacted by the installation shutdown. Now next steps is expanding that to our joint bases and Army Compo 2 and 3 sites. We're also making strides in providing better facilities. At Fort Bliss, after 3 years of testing, I'll just state that, we cut the ribbon on the U.S. military's first 3D printed barracks. These are transient barracks or barracks that are now being used for soldiers who are living there for the southwest border. And look, this is not just a novelty. These are durable facilities. They're incredibly energy efficient because they are 3D printed with poured concrete. They are inherently mold resistant. And the soldiers, I talked to them. The soldiers said, these are the nicest training barracks they've ever lived in. And here's the speed piece. When I was there in February, they were pushing dirt, moving dirt right next door where we're going to build 10 additional barracks. Soldiers will be living in those barracks by the end of the summer or early fall. Let me just stick that again. They're pushing dirt. They will be living there by the end of the summer, early fall. Next up for that is we're going to 3D print the entire Ruba project at Fort Polk for those units that are coming in and out of the Joint Readiness Training Center to complete a complete barracks complex. And so we're really excited about this. And this is made possible by partnering with industry leaders and our commercial partners. So ladies and gentlemen, the future of sustainment is here. We need your help to help drive us further into the future and faster into the future. As our Army continues to undergo continuous transformation, so too with our sustainment enterprise. And we have to move faster. But our problems are many and our issues are real, which makes our partnerships with you more critical than ever. So let me challenge you today. Break out of the status quo of how we've always worked together and how we've always done this business in the past, and bring us those innovative technologies and those innovative ideas. Because I have never seen in my time in the Army, close to 37 years, a willingness to change like we have at every echelon. And our soldiers, they demand it. They are demanding it. So help us get there. Show us how you advanced your own capabilities to move faster, cheaper, and without losing effectiveness. Together, we can drive the innovation that will enhance readiness and secure our nation's future. Thank you for your dedication to our country and your commitment to our soldiers. God bless you all. This will defend. Be all you can be. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sergeant Major of the Army, retired, Dan Daly, AUSA's Vice President of NCO and Soldier Programs.
Well, good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank Lieutenant General Mohan one more time for being with us this morning. I am SMA retired Dan Daly, Vice President of NCO and Soldier Programs here at AUSA. Today's award presentation is for Command Sergeant Retired Troy Welsh Action Award. The Army's commitment to improving overall nutrition, or ACTION, is an initiative that enables the enterprise as a collective effort to enhance readiness through nutrition. The lethality of our soldier depends on their physical and cognitive performance, in which nutrition is the most critical component of a conditioned warfighter. To promote excellence in nutrition, the Army created the Command Sergeant Major Retired Troy Welsh Action Award to reward this excellence based on his legacy and commitment to the culinary craft for our Army. Each year, Army Material Command will recognize 2 soldiers who made a significant and measurable contribution to Army sustainment operating and possessing sterling leadership and demonstrating improvement in 3 food areas: operating efficiency, readiness levels, and fiscal responsibility. At this time, I'd like to welcome Command Sergeant Major Garza, Army Material Command CSM, and Chef Robert Irvine to the stage to present this award. The 2025 winners of the Command Sergeant Major Retired Troy Welsh Action Award are CW3 Billy Ray Doggett III, Headquarters, 11th Airborne Division, J. Bear, Alaska. And Master Sergeant Andrea Cooper, Headquarters and STB, 25th Infantry Division, Sustainment Brigade, 25th Infantry Division, Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. Master Sergeant Cooper is unable to be present for today's recognition. Accepting on her behalf is Colonel Mike Woodall, the 25th Sustainment Brigade Commander. Let's give one last round of applause for these awardees and the excellence that they have displayed. Thank you, Chef Everyone Sergeant Major. So, ladies and gentlemen, join us in Salon 1 this afternoon for the Senior Enlisted Panel at 13:30, where senior CSMs and Sergeant Majors will discuss connecting the industrial base to the tactical edge, how industry partnerships deliver decisive advantage for the future fight. Directly following the SEL panel, we will present the Command Sergeant Major Retired Dan Elder Writing Awards for the 2025 winners. Please take the time to walk the expo floor and participate in the contemporary military forums and Warriors Corner. Thanks for attending today's events, and be all you can be.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now welcome to the stage Colonel Retired John Kensley, AUSA's Redstone Huntsville Chapter President.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have one more round of applause for those readiness contributing leaders there that were just recognized. Lieutenant General Mohan spoke about the tremendous changes in the Army's dining facilities and what's happening there. Amazing things. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Lieutenant General Gwen Bingham, who will moderate our next panel discussion around partnering with industry to revolutionize garrison feeding. Thank you.
Lieutenant General Gwen Bingham, U.S. Army retired, held numerous command and leadership positions throughout her 38 years of service in the United States and abroad. Her Army career culminated with a Pentagon assignment as the Assistant Chief of Staff for Installation Management. Since retirement, she has served on for-profit and nonprofit boards of directors and is currently the chair of nonprofit Blue Star Families. Lieutenant General Bingham, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. How's everybody feeling this morning? Ooh. Well, it is a joy for me to be back in my home state of Alabama. And not too far down the road is a place where I grew up in college. And I've got to say this for Les Smith there. 2 words for you, Les. Roll Tide. What? It's a joy, General Brown, to be back in your presence and missed. Thank you so much for your leadership through the decades, and we just so appreciate all of what you're doing, you and the team, in leading AUSA. I gotta say, General Mohan, you have come a long way since we first met each other. He was a first lieutenant promotable, and I was a captain in the days at Fort Hood. But I want to thank General Mohan for his leadership of the Army Materiel Command and all of what is happening. So I have the honor to moderate this panel. I'm excited about it, partnering with industry to revolutionize garrison feeding. And you know, the word partnership I love, because having served as both a garrison commander and a senior commander on several times, I often said there's no way we do what we do inside our gates without the full support and partnership of those outside our gates. And so to that end, it's a great thing that we've come together to partner with industry and all the leaders. So when you think about the word revolutionize, you think about radical change. And I've got to say, last month I had the great pleasure to drive about 50 minutes from my home, go to Fort Hood, Texas, and bear witness to the opening of Bistro 42. You guys, it is not my father's mess hall. Right. And it's certainly not like anything I've ever witnessed in my 38 years of service. These soldiers are in for a treat, and I'm just so grateful for the leadership have had that vision for years, and General Donahue, you'll probably talk about that journey. But they say that a picture speaks 1,000 words, so with that, I'd like to tee up the video and show you a little bit about campus-style dining venue. Roll the video.
We haven't gotten it right over the last 15, 20 years. We got to change the atmosphere, modernize the food ecosystem across the Army.
Every meal is actually nutritional, so it's really good helping out when you have like meal prepping, planning, and hitting the gym.
I think it looks more fancy, more professional. So far what I've seen when you walk in is just plenty of options, like so many more healthier options too. The food is coming from, fresh farms and not just frozen prepackaged foods.
It has better quality food than the other defects by a fairly wide margin.
It really looks like it's like a college setting type of environment.
This is going to fundamentally change the way that we feed our soldiers. We owe this to them.
What you think? Cool. Campus-style dining venue. So here to talk about it is a phenomenal panel, consists of esteemed leaders who have lent their voice, their expertise, and their passion to revolutionizing garrison feeding. First, let me introduce our first panelist, Lieutenant General Michelle Donahue, our Army G4. Yeah. Woohoo!
Only for my battle
right.
day.
Worth it. General Donahue is certainly no stranger to anyone in this room. She has nearly 3 decades of service. General Donahue is a highly decorated expert in all things that are logistics and sustainment, having had some of our most formidable command and key staff assignments at the tactical, operational, and strategic levels. Prior to her current assignment, General Donahue served as the 56th Quartermaster General and Commandant of the Quartermaster School, and as Commanding General, U.S. Army Combined Armed Support Command and the Sustainment Center of Excellence. Her combat tours include a deployment to Jordan, as well as tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our Army G4, Lieutenant General Michelle Donahue.
Thanks, Gwen.
Welcome. So our next panelist, I've had the good fortune to know almost 2 decades, Chef Robert Irvine. Underneath that tough exterior associated with his Restaurant Impossible Food Network hit show, he has a huge heart and a passion for our service members who are serving around the globe. Robert Irvine is a world-class chef, a highly successful entrepreneur, and a tireless philanthropic supporter of our nation's military. We're so grateful to you, Chef, for all of the generosity that you have given back to our service members and our first responders. Moreover, we consider him a coveted friend and a partner. Please welcome Chef Robert Irvine. Welcome, Chef.
Thank you.
And our next panelist, and finally, Major General Eric Shirley. So General Shirley is certainly no stranger to this town or Army Materiel Command headquarters, as he assumed command of the U.S. Army Sustainment Command, which is a subordinate command of AMC, in July of last year. Prior to his current assignment, General Shirley served as the Commanding General, 1st Theater Sustainment Command, and as commander of the Defense Logistics Agency Troop Support. Eric is a battle-tested and highly decorated leader with multiple deployments and combat tours to Kuwait, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Help me welcome Major General Eric Shirley. So I'd like to now invite each of our panelists to provide opening remarks, and we'll start with General Donahue, Chef Irvine, and General Shirley in that order. Michelle, over to you.
Thanks, Gwen. AUSA teammates down there, thank you so much for hosting us. We appreciate it, and the partnership with AMC to put this panel on as well. And Gwen, thank you for moderating the 51st Quartermaster General here. And so from the 51st to the 50th, or 56th to the 51st, thanks for all that you did to lay the foundations as well for the transformation at Fort Lee, as well as starting that food journey way back then as well. And then just to the whole partnership as well, I mean, this journey that we've been on, and I'll briefly describe that, really started about 2 years ago, but it took leaders across the sustainment enterprise to include General Mohan. We formed basically a whole board of directors, and we all had pieces of this, from the Army G4 when General Hoyle was up there, from when I was at CASCOM, and then when General Mohan was down here. And it took all of us, right, to come together from a trial and error, to look back in time, to understand what we were doing wrong and right. When I was the Quartermaster General, we had started this journey towards kiosk and food trucks. We had started the conversation about how do you take college campus station-style feeding options to our soldiers, but we were never able to get it over the goal line. Previously, the AMC leadership team had done a lot of research into a lot of the legislative as well as the policy barriers that we encountered. And so that was part of our friction. We really didn't understand, one, how commercial industry worked, and that was when we invited in Chef into the fold. And he took us on this journey for almost 6 months or so. And we partnered with DLA to understand DLA challenges. We went to DECA to understand the DECA integration. We went up to Columbia University to understand how do you take value-added food products with a drastically really reduced workload from an employee to employer relationship, and how do you deliver quality, healthy food to those student athletes. And so along that journey, we realized that we needed legislative relief from the Randolph-Shepard Act. I'm not going to talk too much about that, only because we are back in litigation with the industry of the blind. But in addition to that, we also realized, and I know I've got the former DLA Troop Support Commander here as well, but that we needed relief from OSW when it came to using DLA for our food source. Through campus-style dining, through 42 Bistro, we've actually already proved that it's a 35% less cost of our subsistence based on using commercial industry, who gets that value-added bang for the buck. So that was one. The other one was the Armed Forces Recipe Service. I remember a time when I was down in the Quartermaster team, and we had tried to revolutionize our menu. And I thought that we were like the best thing when we came up with the new 21-day menu. And I sent it out to all of the culinary, the NCOs leading each of those DFACs across the entire Army, and said, like, the menu is here, like, take it, use it, it's go for green, it's got healthy options. And literally it took an E7 down at Fort Hood who actually wrote me back and said, ma'am, you've got no clothes on, because at the end of the day, like, we can't change the menus down at our level without having to manually input this into AFMIS, without having to go back, without having to source every single subsistence product. And it took then, when I said, well, that's ridiculous, we should then figure out how on high we then push those menus down. It took 5 years to take that new 21-day menu and actually to be able to code it and to get that out to soldiers. That's the bureaucracy that we were encountering. And so Armed Forces menu, to be able to use the menus from a commercial provider, right? Like, just breaking through that policy barrier. I remember, and Chef won't talk about this, but when he opened up Victory Fresh down at Fort Jackson, and it was a kiosk grab-and-go option with tremendous healthy options for soldiers down there. And but they built that menu locally, and they built that menu with DLA at the local level. And they were able to source, but they ran into a lot of sourcing challenges there too. We brought that up to Fort Lee. It took 2 years for me to get through all of the bureaucracy to open up what we called Victory Fresh there on Fort Lee. But I remember Shane Cash, or one of his chefs, who said, hey, I took my brisket recipe from Fort Jackson, and your team had to get it approved by the Armed Forces recipe. They didn't even know what sous vide was. And at the end of the day, they're scientists, they're not chefs, right? And so you lost the taste, you lost the nutrition quality. And so at the end of the day, we had to blow up this whole idea of what the Armed Forces Recipe Service was, and how could we then take recipes from commercial providers, which is exactly what Compass has done at Fort Hood with 42 Bistro. So those were like the big hurdles that we had. And they seem small, but they were huge. And so we are still, now as we move on, we have waivers for all those right now. And so we're going to continue to press through that, because that's what our senior leaders have told us to do, which is to continue to deliver healthy food options using best commercial practices, modern IT systems, and everything else that a new partnership with industry provides for us, for something that we just couldn't do using legacy contracting, or in the case of our own systems, our own IT systems with our soldiers who really need to be in the field performing their warcraft. And that is what our 92 Golfs are going to do here for the future. So I'll pause there, turn it over to Chef. He can continue to talk about all of the other great options out there. Lots of options. Talk about 42 Bistro. Talk about that journey.
I'm not going to talk about the TV show, but the guy on the TV show is the guy that shows up every day for the last 3 years to change or modernize the feeding platform from the DLA standpoint. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about DLA, but what civilian organizations are doing in the feeding space is phenomenal. This took, what you saw there is 3 years of work. Mm-hmm. But putting 4,000 soldiers through a dining facility at night when it had 0. Mm-hmm. And what's more important is, yes, healthy, nutritious food that's fresh and locally sourced and all those things. When you buy a piece of fish that's $9.74 that we really put in cat and dog food, and we sell at this restaurant, and we buy the fresh salmon for $2, there's a variance there somewhere. And you see it with the young soldiers. You've seen a couple there, but we monitor this. And by the way, I don't get paid. I want you to know this. I do this completely on my own time. It's my full-time job, pretty much. Because, and that's not why I said that. I just in case somebody thinks I'm getting money or something, I'm not. I do it because I believe that the leadership that you see, and General Mohan and the chief and Sec Army are really behind this. But it was a struggle to get to this point. Mm-hmm. And now we're at this point. Now we have to change the whole army in a very fast amount of time. Because that's, you heard what General Mohan said, when the boss says move, you move. Right. And it's interesting to take a legacy dining facility and rebuild it. So take it down, rebuild it, and make sure it's got the right equipment and the right training. And you've got Dynex, you've got Treyarch, you've got campus style dining. We're proving that we get a better soldier, more resilient, sleeps better, eats better, work out better, better mood, all these things that are associated when you eat in a restaurant. Mm-hmm. We were never giving, it wasn't a priority, I should say, like it is now. You know, you can buy tanks and planes and all the industrial base, but if you can't have people to use those things, then it's pretty useless. We don't have an army. Because, like Napoleon said, an army does work on it, or move on its stomach. And I think we proved that in the last 3 years, the team, collectively, to do this. I'm just a small part of the team, and I'm very happy to be part of the team. I don't wear a uniform, so I can say things that maybe they can't. And yes, I've had a few targets on my back, and I've got battle buddies that take the bullets for me. But it's a great ride. It's great to see from a drawing board to fruition, but we have a long way to go, and we'll get there, for sure. but it's the most exciting program I've ever done. Forget TV. This is the best ride ever. Getting to travel the globe for the last 17 years and that you see this after 3 years come to fruition when so many before have tried and could never get it there. Mm-hmm. So it's really exciting.
Excellent. Thank you, Chef. Eric?
Well, ma'am, thanks so much. And again, to our AUSA hosts, thanks for this forum. It's just fantastic to come together, see so many friends and associates, and to hear from leaders, like you see on the panel today, discuss what Army senior leaders partnered with industry are doing to get after supporting our soldiers, because really that's what it comes down to. And all these panel members have said the same thing. It's about better fueling our soldiers. We owe it to them, our very best effort. And I will tell you, as Second Lieutenant Shirley in the mid-90s, going to the mess hall was seen as an obligation. You know, my company first sergeant would come elbow me once in a while and said, "Sir, get in there with your soldiers," right? And you had your choice of Salisbury steak and coffee out of the Mermite can that might have had vegetable soup in it the night before, so you got a little bit of that flavor. We have come light years from those days where we were constrained by infrastructure and policy and law to a degree. And I think it's a testament to our Army senior leaders who have really challenged all of the status quo, have broken down barriers, and now have told us, we told you, be ready for catastrophic success. Army leaders are generally, you know, small c conservative. We're a little bit reserved in our assessments, but I think that we're at that stage where we've got to recognize it's proving to be a tremendous success at Bistro 42, at our Victory Fresh sites at Jackson and at Fort Lee. We've got to be ready to accelerate. And that will take not only the teammates that are already invested in it, but all of our industry partners. So it's my privilege, as was announced earlier, to command Army Sustainment Command at Rock Island Arsenal. I'm one of General Mohan's major subordinate commands, and our responsibility as the face to the field for the AMC enterprise is to work through my boss's priorities, delivering combat-ready formations, reimagining the OIB, but in this instance, really to enhance the soldier experience. And that's not only soldiers, it's family members, everybody in the community. Because our Army power projection platforms, we know Fort Hood, Bistro 42, but the others that are soon to follow at Carson, at Drum, Bragg, and Stewart, they're all going to be the recipients of this enhanced quality of life for soldiers and family members. You see the testimonials, right? Those weren't paid actors by any means. Those soldiers appreciate what the Army senior leaders are doing for them. And I look forward to leaning in with the oversight and help from our leaders at the Department of the Army to make this a reality in more places. But to describe to you all just a little bit about what the scope and scale of this means going forward, Army Sustainment Command is responsible across 81 installations, all the post camps and stations, active component and reserve. We have 176 different dining facilities that we run today, currently with one CSDV, a couple of installations with Victory Fresh, and I'll talk about those initiatives a little bit more. But understand that many of those places have not yet received the benefits of these initiatives. So as we go forward, we have 85 dining facilities that are on full food service contracts, kind of our traditional work for T2COM, previously TRADOC, the installations where we're training new soldiers and making them ready to go out into the force. 97 dining facilities out there under a dining facility attendant contract, meaning 92 Gulfs. Our culinary specialists in the Army are running those facilities, and we provide contracted support to do the KP and the work to keep the dining facility running. All of that moving forward, we will move these 176 installations through this first tranche of what's called the pilots. And as General Mohan briefed earlier, we're moving now with that next request for proposal to extend out in concentric circles throughout the continental United States and then globally faster, because that's what our Army senior leaders are driving us to, and that's what our soldiers deserve. So to give you a sense of how much business that is, we're well north of $500 million annually supporting the Army food program. A lot of that is done in partnership with Installation and Management Command. Our commander, General Smith, works hard with his directorates of public work to make these facilities ready to enhance and invest in the real property so that we can bring in our industry partners to deliver the effects, deliver the service, deliver world-class performance, delivering nutritious fuel for our warfighters. And we look forward to just making that go faster. Now, a little bit about other initiatives that we're doing to expand access to healthy food choices for our soldiers. the discussion that we've had now, CSDV, Victory Fresh at our training installations. There are other things that we've already started on, and to call them pilots is a little bit of a misnomer. They're all different initiatives that come together into the totality of the food ecosystem that helps to fuel our soldiers. So ways that we've worked to partner with industry to enhance access to our soldiers, grab-and-go locations, meal prep. You heard the soldiers. It's not the same physical fitness program of the past. In the same way that dining facilities are much different from the 90s, it's not just the push-ups, sit-ups, and run anymore. Soldiers are very well informed and have high goals for themselves as they train to become more combat ready. Part of that is preparing their nutrition in a foresighted manner. They understand what it means to put the proper fuel in the body, and we help them with meal prep at several of our installations. We also help with the food truck activity. I will tell you there's 27 food truck operating across 15 locations in our Army. We have meal prep programs at 17 different locations and 28 kiosks, some that we do of our own, some done in partnership with DECA, that make grab-and-go options, healthy, nutritious options available to meet the soldiers where they're at, near their workplace, so they don't spend time transiting back and forth to a proper dining facility. So early on is a precursor to establishing Bistro 42 and our initial campus-style dining venue. AMC, with the informed guidance of Army senior leaders, worked through an initiative called FEED. FEED was the Flexible Eating Expanded Dining Initiative, and what it did was it sought to link the Army soldiers' entitlements with their Common Access Card, their soldier messing benefit that they receive, and allow that to be used at different points of sale across our installations, so that soldiers didn't just have to rely on the dining facility. They could go to an MWR activity, an APHIS activity, other options where they could get nutritious food on post. We did that in part to give the soldiers more options, but also to signal to industry that we're ready to make a change. By proving out with that limited user test at Fort Hood, Texas, that we could make that a technical reality, partners in industry knew that the Army was very, very serious about delivering the benefit in an enhanced way to our soldiers. So we moved from FEED, and with chefs coaching and mentorship, we went to the T2Com locations. Victory Fresh is really reimagining how we take the freshest ingredients, the healthiest, nutritious options, not beholden to any existing policy or source of supplies, we've said, and really with world-class mentorship on what those menus look like, chef's special sauce of the preparation, business-minded, understanding the layouts of the facilities, and then I've seen it in action. He gets in front and he motivates the workforce as they get ready to deliver it to soldiers. And I will tell you, having watched the ribbon cutting at Fort Lee, Virginia, and having heard the feedback from Sean Davis, I don't know if Sean's in the room, our great CASCOM commander, 500 to 600 soldiers going into Fort Lee to a renovated dining facility. From the first time the soldier lays down their Common Access Card at the point of sale, they move into line. In 2 minutes, they're at their tables. They are consuming high-quality, nutritious fuel for the fight, and then they're ready to get back to their program of instruction. I think that's what right looks like, and it's not Salisbury steak, right? It's the barbecue, the fired pizza, the Asian fusion, the wraps, all of the things that they want. It's there for them, prepared professionally in a world-class setting, delivered so they can continue the fight. And I think it's, as I said, exactly what right looks like. We're prepared for at Army Sustainment Command and AMC to support the forward momentum, enjoying the catastrophic success that we think we're seeing now at Fort Hood, Texas, and we're really excited about moving forward. Ma'am.
That's fantastic. Well, as we talked about earlier, it's definitely a revolutionary way and approach to our feeding in Garrison. It's very exciting. AUSA has facilitators that are in the rooms, so get your questions together. We'll go now into our Q&A session, and we'd like to hear from you as we do that. I have the first question, and I'd like to address it to you, General Donahue. We were talking about this transformational effort and how it's changing the way we feed in Garrison. What does this mean as it relates to our 92 Golfs in the field, and what should they take away from it?
So the 92 Golf profession, near and dear to my heart. And I'm going to harken back to my time when I was, again, the 56th Quartermaster General there. And we had this opportunity to think differently. By the way, this is also when Ukraine, all things Ukraine had started. And we were trying to take lessons observed out of Ukraine. We were also looking at how would we feed soldiers in the Indo-Pacific. We're right now, looking at how we're feeding soldiers in the Middle East. And I then hearkened back to a time when I went out to NTC and I saw inside the brigade support area, I saw 7 of our CKs chained together with a nice sign out there that said, "Welcome, we're serving chicken and waffles today." And I thought, forward in Ukraine, where you are being continually observed with one-way drone attacks inbound. There is never on this modern battlefield a time where I'm ever going to see 7 CKs chained together and we're ever serving chicken and waffles, right? In addition to that, the cold food supply chain of what that means for providers to have to source those soldiers forward differently than what we would see with what we would call UGREs. It's a ration that we used in Afghanistan, platoon-sized, and we were able to airdrop those into, the Hindu Kush mountains. We were able to, resupply, from an MRE perspective. And so we had to think differently about the whole entire food ecosystem when it came to mobile brigades, as well as our heavy armored brigades as well. And so what that meant was really having to rely on our assault kitchens forward and trying to move, because some of those FSCs had those big containerized kitchens, and it's just not a reality in the modern battlefield. And so what that meant was taking a brigade that might have had 96 cooks in it, and when you now aligned assault kitchens to each of those infantry or armor battalions, it was a much reduced 92 Golf footprint. That then was the stark reality of we can't continue to ask our 92 Golfs to feed in Garrison, one of the only MOSs that we ask them to do basically 2 jobs at once. We want you to sustain your equipment. We want you to go to the field, provide culinary support to those warfighters, nutritious, meals to those warfighters. Yet we want you back here cooking in the DFAC. And so it was we basically said, we just can't keep on doing the business that we've been doing the same way. And this is at the same time as well, that then all this, how do we revolutionize what we do in the Garrison? And so it sort of all kind of came to head. And so where we've focused the first tranche of campus-style dining is where we are seeing the reductions in 92 Golf structure out there. And that was kind of how we arrayed the tranches for where we were putting each of these CSDVs. So I will tell you, to me, their mission is probably greater when it comes to feeding our total force warfighters in the field. And so now they have the time to focus on their warfighting tasks, they have the time to take care of their equipment, they have the time to invest back in all of the things that we ask soldiers to do for all of our warfighting tasks. And so to me, it's also about how do you think really creatively, and how do we teach them differently to provide on the fly. So for example, if you looked at how the Israelis fed soldiers inside of Gaza, you look at how the Ukrainians are feeding their soldiers inside of Ukraine, they are sourcing locally. So we have to continue to teach our culinarians how to cook. This isn't just going to go boil in a bag, right? This is giving them the same skill sets, but having the creative tools to be able to go out there, to know what is available on the local economy, and to be able then to source while you still have our ration support that comes from DLA, all of our operational rations that come from DLA. Those will still be there. We will still rely on those. But I think it's just about embracing the new normal, which is focus on warfighting. That is what the chief has asked us to do. It's what our Secretary of the Armies, it's what our Secretary of War has asked us to do. Focus on your warfighting task. Anything else?
And as you
I think it's a holistic thing.
everybody wants to be a chef in the civilian world. Nobody wants to be a cook in the military. It's just life. And if you look at, no, I'm sorry. I love it, but when I grew up, I'm 60 years old, it was a good thing to be a cook in the Navy, not the Army, but in the Navy. Now we're not getting these people come in. So the people we have to treasure them and teach them about the expanding horizon of food that's continually changing that we're just catching up to now. So I think that's a big part also of, we want to continue to train them to get better at modernization of their craft instead of all the headaches that they've had.
That's right. Big shout out. I think Billy Doggett's out here. Where is he? He's out here. He just, hopefully he's here. CW3, Billy Doggett, one of our awardees that just was out here, right? Awarded because of the innovation that he took to the 11th Airborne Division in Alaska about how do you feed soldiers at negative 30 degrees, thinking differently about what the field feeding equipment looks like, thinking differently about, and I'm just going to throw it out there from a commercial industry partner out there, but mountain, I'm going to get this wrong, modern mountain house meals or something like that. But all things freeze-dries rations, right? So there's technology out there that allows us healthy, nutritious meals that have the right caloric content with all of the right ingredients out there to continue to fuel. There's options out there, and so that's where, from an industry perspective, we want your feedback, because we've continued to have the MREs of some of the same MREs, although we've seen some innovation as well.
Right.
Just throw it out there. Salisbury steak. I think we still have that.
Yeah, of course. The Moors and the winter rations are on hand up there for our Arctic Angels in Alaska. To the professional development and I2 Golf's chief, I appreciate that comment. Nobody's looking to be a in the field, sleeves rolled up, having to cook under combat conditions. That's a tough sell. Is a long-term profession. However, our 92 Golfs, they do have that culinary skill set, and we are enticing them to come into the Army to learn a skill, to be able to grow that, and then graduate out into a civilian. So as we partner with industry, I think there's always going to be room for us to continue to enhance and refine those preparation for war, vice war proper skill sets for our 92 Golfs. And I don't think any of our partners that we'll do business with going forward, as we move campus-style dining venues to more installations across the nation and across the world, are going to be resistant to us being able to introduce 92 Golfs to hone their skills for that practice without burdening them with the two jobs, wearing two rucksacks. Support the field, support the rotations, and support training at the National Training Center or Joint Readiness Training Center, and then be ready to deploy. And oh, by the way, keep that DFAC running and get my utilization up. That's a tough sell for our 92 Golfs. But I think that introducing this partnership with industry that really gives us world-class facilities and product was still an opportunity to train the 92 Golfs, not as their primary duty, but as an option to continue to grow the career field. I think there's absolutely space for that going forward.
Absolutely.
Great responses. So this question comes from our audience, and it is, I understand you used a non-appropriated fund or NAF contract for the pilot. How did that go, and will it be used in the future?
I should look at my battle buddy out here in MCOM. So part of it, and I'm probably maybe a little bit out of my league on this one, but I would offer, and Eric, if you want to jump in too, part of it was this idea of we've got appropriated dollars for the food on the subsistence side, and the labor side of it was where we brought in the NAF appropriations, and we were able to essentially keep those separate, hence why, so at 42 Bistro right now, a soldier can walk in there throughout the course of the day, and they have $39. And that is essentially, as you look at, and by the way, what that looks like, every meal that is sourced through our DLA partner, about $20 is what we pay for the subsistence. But remember, there's no labor there because we're using mainly 92 Golfs. Eric mentioned the full food service piece of that, and that's another contract out there, but they're still separated from a food versus labor piece. This allows us, though, now to pay the vendor $39 a day for a soldier that walks through the door, and they're then reimbursed for both the food and the labor. But $20 is what I said for DLA. Right now, we are paying about $13 when it comes to the food cost because of the value-added products that they're buying, as well as the benefits of the commercial buying power that we have.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that.
So yes to going forward.
So, Chef, this question is for you. Do you offer seed oil-free alternative food choices?
Yeah, look, the young military today is not, your dad's military. You've got to be able to and offer everything from non-GMO. I mean, you name it. That's what young kids and families are asking for today. And when we went to Columbia, and I changed Columbia University almost 10 years ago, with the food cost the same as the military, actually the same amount of money for the food, but they have no refrigeration. Mm-hmm. It comes in at 2 o'clock in the morning, it gets distributed, it gets cooked, and it gets served, and they serve about the same amount of folks as we do on a base. Continually, 2 o'clock every day it comes in. And we have to offer so many different choices because of religion, because of dietary restrictions, health, and all those kind of things. And it's no different than the Army. Mm-hmm. And we've just transferred that learning and knowledge from Columbia and stepped it up 3 notches. So now in each area of the country, as we roll these things out, you'll see local sourced mushrooms or lettuce or tomatoes, depending where you are in each state, that differentiates those dining facilities. Look, the purchase power of a vendor, a Compass, Sodexo, an Aramark, whoever, just like DLA, is huge. When the Army buys, X amount of billions, when Compass buys 33 billion, the economy of scale is so much easier. And I think when we put these menus together and we went through all the stations, and Eric said this a minute ago, you're putting people through a facility that's a legacy dining facility that we spruced up, that used to take 9 minutes or 8 minutes, whatever it was, and now they're doing it in a minute and 52 seconds with 7 stations. That means people going to 7 stations to get 7 different things instead of, the old style Asian and Mediterranean. Nobody's touching it. We have poke bowls and chicken bowls and things that these people want to eat. So I think that the menu choices have been really well thought out. They'll vary slightly in each place, but it's pretty much similar. That we've kept things in a manner that whoever wins the bid of the RFP, which has nothing to do with me, that's the Army, has to follow these things. I'm just the bad guy with a big stick. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because I know how these people work. I know how contractors work in the food space. So it's really interesting to see the variations of food we're putting in the places we're putting these campus-style dining and the Victory Freshers.
And I think that's what makes it so exciting is the choices that our service members have.
But it shouldn't be different. And we have this conversation all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be different from 42 to Victory Fresh. I don't care if you've got 15 minutes, you've got 30 minutes. It's the same food. And if it's not, why isn't it? Mm-hmm. Because that soldier over there deserves the same as that soldier over there and there and there and there. And it's happening, which is a revolutionary thing. If you think food service has changed slightly, ingredients and things, but the food service in general has not changed since the 30s, 36, 37, something like that. Mm. As much as we've changed ingredients and we've changed methods, now we're seeing it, thanks to, and I mean, I'm a small piece of, they have to do all the lifting and the team out there. But I think it's really interesting when you see the conversations of the young soldiers. Oh, I can meal prep. I can, I'm on this strict vegan diet. I'm on this, whatever. And everything is there. You cannot. You used to go to a dining facility before, and I've been to pretty much most of the damn cities around the world. And you would get a tray and you'd dump things on. There's food being cooked to order. Literally, when we opened Victory Fresh, a pizza, not a pizza, but a bran crust pizza that looks white because we took the bran off it, vegan cheese, vegan pepperoni, and it eats like, and then we're making them fresh for 1,000 people. Tell me you can't do that. We just showed you. We can do it.
Yes.
But it takes a collective effort from a legislative side, from a teaching standpoint, and from a collaborative effort of those that win the bids to be able to listen to somebody to come in and say, hey, you're not doing it that way. You've got to do it this way. Mm-hmm. And then following up. So we always give things out, but then we go on to the next thing and we never follow up with it. And I think that's the exciting part about what this is.
That's fantastic. Michelle?
No, I was just going to say, again, if you are going to be at Carson anytime in the near future, you're at Fort Hood. I mean, Sir Major Escobedo and I spent 2 days down there eating pretty much every meal that we had. And the line was out the door at the smoothie station.
Yes.
Right? And I told the chief, like when he went down there, like, Chief, you have to go get a smoothie because I probably never had, I mean, it was an incredible smoothie bowl, right? But these are like the things, I mean, where a soldier can get in there and they can customize anything they want, from a breakfast bowl to a super protein pump. I mean, like my son would love that, right? I mean, if he had that at his college campus right now, which he doesn't. So again, just the options.
Eight people in one station making smoothies.
Yeah.
Right? Literally, continually. 25 grams of protein. And what I love about the old dining facilities, used to take that, if you didn't go for breakfast, you lost that money, right? And then the soldier will go and pay somewhere else to get something, and now that is moved forward for the rest of the day. If you don't do breakfast, you can put it onto lunch, put it onto dinner, and that $39 is used. That's right. And that's exciting because they're saving money, they're getting what they want, and they're sitting in a place that looks like a restaurant, not a legacy dining facility.
And by the way, the other piece of it too is open almost 18 hours a day straight. So as a soldier, right, trying to balance work, I'm in the motor pool, I've got to get this job done, I've got to fix this vehicle, and I'm now going to it is like 06 in the morning all the way until almost 2100 at night. And then has like coffee bar hours, slate, and wing hours, and there's a whole nother piece. And so just the ability from a flexibility perspective.
There's no excuse they can't get food.
That's right. They're there.
There's every place to get food, from food trucks to, there's plenty of food.
I also think it helps their mental well-being, their state of mind in terms of having a place to meet and have fellowship with fellow service members. That's a great thing. So, Chef, I know you've transformed struggling organizations in the private sector. What are one or two non-negotiables the Army must adopt from industry to successfully deliver a true campus-style dining experience at scale?
I think, as General Donahue said, that there was a lot of legal issues, education of what can be done, and going to places and looking at AAA schools and athletic places where we feed athletes. And it was never a priority for the military in general to feed. It was just, we had to feed people. And now it's a priority because the machines are us that use all these expensive toys. I will tell you, because we're still going through some stuff now, that since 1936, Randolph-Shepard Act, sorry, I'm going to bring it up, I won't get into it, but sec education run military feeding. How does that happen? It's got to change. It has to change. Because we have no control if somebody else is controlling it. The Secretary of War and the military doesn't do their own feeding and purchasing, and we do with DLA. I totally understand that. But there's a choice that we have, and you all have it at home. You choose which supermarket you go to get the best product that you want. We should be able to do that within the military providing, we say, the nutritional guidelines. And here's something that I don't know if I should say it, but I'm going to. You know, when a cook cooks chicken, he sees chicken on a box. He doesn't see the nutritional needs of 600 milligrams a day. We see chicken, and maybe they don't, a Tyson or somebody doesn't deliver the right chicken, and they send chicken just because we need chicken. That chicken has 1,000 milligrams of sodium in it. And then somebody like me does this. And then we just add to the 20 years of service on the back end of the VA because now you've got high blood pressure. And I think the systems that are in place are very old. They need updating. If you go to a restaurant or to a hotel or a cruise ship, the minute that box comes in, it goes through a scanner on the loading dock, goes into a computer, into a recipe we know when we take it out. All these things that we're doing at Fort Hood and moving forward, they're just systems to help us control whatever we're putting out.
And just to be clear, too, I'll have one nugget about the Randolph-Shepard Act. We just want fair and open competition. That's it.
Yes.
The best possible contracting solution for our soldiers. That is all we're asking for. And that act prevented us from doing that.
Yeah.
And they deserve our very
best. And they deserve our very best. Just like the Under said yesterday, we're here for the soldier to provide the best of the best. And just like General Mohan said, we owe it to them. And that's all we're asking.
Yes. Another question from our audience. Can you discuss the facilities modernization plan as it relates to our feeding system? Are you using existing and renovating, or are you looking to milk on?
So now is the new G9, G4. FSRM is in my bucket house now, tagged with General Smith out here as well. So, you know, by the way, this is, you know, I think we thought that all 5 of these campus-style dining venues would have been open by now, right? And where we were challenged was in the facilities, like the conditions of the facilities. And so that is what we're working on right now. And for Tranche 2, right, we are already leaning in on that to make sure that that they don't have, you know, catastrophic issues like the roof's about to cave in, things like that, that we can then turn those over to that vendor to be able to do the inside facelift, and that's essentially what we're asking for. And so. So I think there are partnerships. We definitely have. I've got a partnership right now with General Smith that we are taking a look at that along with Eric and his team to make sure that that all of our locations out there are ripe. And I know I see Steph Barton out here and her team from AMC spent a lot of time at each of these installations making sure that we were selecting the right facility that we knew could be rapidly turned over. And so I think there's some lessons learned that we've had in the past, a little couple hiccups there, but I think it's indicative of the infrastructure debt that we have across the Army, that we have to continue to get that. So we're always appreciative of our senior leaders' investment in facilities, as well as all of our congressional teammates and their focus as well on improving our facilities.
We have our CG of MCOM in the audience, General James Smith. James, over to you if you can.
Hey, thanks, ma'am. Hey, thanks, and just fortunate to be an impromptu member of the panel. But a very important question because, you know, in the great partnership and teamwork with the rest of the stakeholders in this,
While they bring up General Smith's mic, I'll just offer that I think to the title of this panel, one of the great things that we're seeing in our partnership with industry is General Smith works through the resourcing challenges of aged infrastructure. We provide a platform for the corporate partner to come in. And what we find in working with his DPW and our Army Field Support Brigades and the food program managers on each installation, we're getting a wealth of supply chain inputs and connections from our corporate partners. So where we found aged dishwashers that were lacking a single part that was really stopping progress on the entirety of a CSDV site for its certification and onward movement in the process, the corporate partner said, I'll call Phil at, you pick the corporate partner, he's an expediter, I'll have that here next week. This was something that we had initially thought, well, this could be a 30, 60, 90-day challenge. But the corporate expertise It's not just the ingredients and the preparing of the food, it's the running of the facilities.
Yes.
And in the case of some of our installations, we have tremendously benefited from the insights and the corporate connections to be able to make our facilities ready.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. And I was going to say it's a team of teams approach. And so, as we went down this camp-style dining venue venture, we really found out immediately that the facilities in and of itself, in some cases, were not up to standard. And what that caused us to do is have to really look internal to figure out, how can we, going back to Michelle's comments and General Mohan's comments, make this the best for the soldiers. And in some instances, some of the dining facilities, the legacy dining facilities that were chosen and they hadn't been operated for quite a while. And so it was a considerable amount of investment into the infrastructure to ensure that the equipment that was going to be operated, and some of the equipment was different than, going forward is going to be different than what we were operating with from a legacy perspective. There was a requirement to go in and, fix the roof, change out some of the refrigeration and things of that nature to make sure that when we opened up a dining facility, it was opening in the capacity that was conducive to the contractor. So how are we funding it right now? We got several different strategies. Some of it I'm paying for internally. That's not a sustainable model. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But some of the installations are just readjusting and reprioritizing some funds that they have, because they know that this is a priority for the soldiers. They know it's a priority for Army senior leadership as well, and we're just trying to make it work and make it happen. But that's how MCOM is supporting this venture. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much. Let's give him a round of applause for being our impromptu panelist. Thank you so much, James.
Thank you, ma'am.
Appreciate you. We are getting close on time, but we have a couple of more minutes. Michelle, this one is for you. Great background on the bureaucratic challenges we face in overcoming the base feeding of our great soldiers. What challenges do you see as we expand to our overseas and foreign country locations and potential contingency areas?
I'm gonna have to go back out to my lifeline on the NAP side of the house. I think this is, we'll have to figure out the host nation piece of that and the integration with the host nation countries to make sure, but no different than how we already operate our MWR facilities over there, no different than those vendors that are already overseas that have the supply chain, the resilient supply chains that already exist. And so I think so we will, time will tell here. We've got Tranche 2 out there on the street right now. The chief has charged us to go after Hawaii and Alaska. That'll be the next quick effort. We'll probably come back to CONUS because our secretary has said, just like General Mohan said, move faster. I want this everywhere. And then we will tackle overseas. There is something to be learned though right now, especially with what General Chris Donahue is doing over in USARAF right now. He's kind of taking the same approach that Eric and I took at Fort Lee with Victory Fresh, and he's taking what he knows is a full food service contract there in Wiesbaden, right. And he is already, again, infusing different menus, options, fresh food, all those things. So we have partnered to show where you can make it work with the current contractor, but you've got to have that partnership with the contractor, and you have to have a bit of that legislative policy relief on the Armed Forces recipe cards as well that allows us to drive what the soldiers want and then match that to that resilient supply chain as well on the food side.
When General Mohan was talking about the results he was seeing already in the new campus-style dining, I know we're tracking data analytics. Can we talk to the data analytics and what we're seeing right now in the pilot locations that have been open?
Yeah, real quick. So General Mohan mentioned 26%. It's funny. My XO is Colonel Tavi Brunson down there and his brother, Colonel Javi Brunson, down at Fort Hood. And I said, hey, Tavi, get a hold of Javi and figure out how many soldiers that are, on what we call, that are ESM soldiers, meal card soldiers, are deployed right now, right? Because when we look at the data, and AMC's got a great sort of analytics dashboard there, we've got about 9,900 soldiers that are at Fort Hood that are on what we would classify as ESM soldiers. And so I said, well, golly, we've only had 3,500 of them come through the doors. Yet we're seeing average 2,000 a day, upwards of almost 4,000 a day on the weekends,
That's
right?
fantastic.
So fantastic. But I said, well, how many soldiers are deployed on Fort Hood right now? And so Javi came back and he said, well, about 12,000. I said, all right, but how many of those are ESM-like soldiers? And came back and said, about somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000. So if you add that 4,000 and 5,000 that are ESM soldiers, you add that to the 4,000-ish that we're already seeing, you're getting about 100% of the soldiers on Fort Hood that have visited, that have had meal swipes, that have taken part, and that absolutely are invested in fueling their bodies differently.
That's phenomenal. Well, I'd like to give each of you a chance to provide closing remarks. And I'll start with you, General Shirley.
Well, thanks so much, ma'am. And again, thanks to AUSA for this forum. It's fantastic. Our ability to talk directly to industry about what we see as a better way forward to fuel our soldiers, allow them to be more ready, more lethal, it's invaluable. And I would say, from having been to Bistro 42, like everyone here on the panel, it's just tremendous to see young soldiers go into a dining facility, a campus-style dining venue now, multiple points of sales. They can order ahead, have their food waiting for them, have the opportunity to have a dietitian on staff 24/7 answer any questions, concerns, regardless of what their physical goals are, they can meet it. And Army senior leaders are making that available to them. I'm excited as part of ASC and AMC to really broaden the horizon on how many installations we're providing this service to the soldier going forward. It's just going to make our Army that much better. And thanks for the opportunity to talk about it today.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Chef.
I'm just proud and honored to, I'm British by birth, American by choice. Yeah. To be a part of something that is a legacy play and changing the lives of soldiers I've done some pretty crazy things in my career. This is the most enjoyable and life-changing experience, not only for the soldiers, but also for me. So thank you for allowing me to do that.
Thank you so much. We're so grateful for you as well. Thank you. Michelle, over to you.
So I want to just throw out, too, this isn't just about soldiers, but it's about soldiers and their families, too. To be able to walk into 42 Bistro and have an incredible, on a Sunday, at brunch, lunch, for $7 to walk away with an amazing meal, you're not going to get that anywhere. And so to scale that across a family of 4 or 5,
yes,
to walk out of there with a healthy, nutritious meal, this isn't just, again, we absolutely want to feed soldiers and we want to, have them operating at their peak. But this is also an opportunity for families to take advantage of quality meals on an installation. And that's one of the things that I learned up at Columbia up there was you had the student population hostage for food. But it was the fact that the entire faculty bought into the meal plan because the food was so good and inexpensive when it came to the surrounding New York area. And that's what I look at as the opportunities for each of these vendors to be able to feed our families at the same time and also to pump nutritious quality foods into our kids, which will then is our next generation of soldiers that will continue to fight and win our nation's wars.
I got to tell you, if you don't feel good about our Army after listening to this fantastic panel, something's wrong. I want to say thank you to each of you for your superb leadership, not only now in the jobs that you're doing, but throughout the decades. We couldn't do what we do without each of you, and we're just so grateful to you. So let's give them a round of applause.
Thank you, man.
Job well done. And I know that we have service members who are deployed, as General Mohan mentioned in his remarks, in support of that Operation Epic Fury. I just want to thank you and your teams that are working around the clock, those in the audience and those not in this place today, just to say thank you. We're so grateful to you for what you're doing as it relates to readiness and keeping our soldiers ready. So may God continue to bless our soldiers who are serving around the globe. May we vow never to forget our wounded warriors, our fallen comrades and their families, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Bingham, and all our panelists. We'll now take a break before our next panel begins. Please return to your seats at 11:30. Please return to your seats at 11:30.
Insecure from the past. How long can a good thing last? dance to see. Ghetto Prince is my name. Making love's how I swing. I'm your pusher man. I'm your pusher man. 2 bags, please, for a generous fee. Make your world what you want it to be. Got a woman I love desperately. Wanna give her something better than me. Been told I can't be nothing else. Just a hustler in spite of myself. I know I can make it. This life just don't make it. Lord, Lord, yeah. Got to get mellow now. Gotta be mellow, y'all. Got to get mellow now. I'm your mama, I'm your daddy, I'm that nigga in the alley. I'm your doctor when you need. Want some coke, have some weed. You know me, I'm your friend, your main boy, thick and thin. I'm your pusher man. I'm your pusher man. cost to each day. Your problem is you ain't been loved like you should. But what I got to give will show enough do you good. Woo! Tell me something good. Tell me that you love me, yeah. Tell me something good. Tell me that you like it, yeah. You ain't got no kind of feeling inside. I got something that sure enough set your stuff on fire. You refuse to put anything before your pride. What I got will knock your pride aside. Tell me something good. Oh, yeah, yeah. Tell me that you love me, yeah. Tell me something good. Oh, baby, 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 yeah. Tell me that you like it, yeah. You got tell me something good. Oh, tell me, baby, tell me that you love me, yeah, 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 yeah. Tell me something good. Oh, tell me that you like it, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please be seated? Our program is about to begin. Please be seated. Our program is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Brigadier General Retired Jack Haley.
Thank you. Well, we just had a great panel before the break with a celebrity chef, but I'm guarantee you that this panel is going to blow that one away. The next panel topic is acquisition, reform, and innovation, transforming how the Army delivers war-winning capabilities. Lieutenant General Neil Thurgood, PhD, U.S. Army retired, Senior Vice President of Anduril, will moderate this panel discussion.
Lieutenant General Neil Thurgood, PhD, United States Army retired, served over 37 years solving critical problems in the defense and acquisition segments, culminating as the Director of the Army Rapid Capabilities and Critical Technology Office. He now serves as Senior Vice President at Anduril, overseeing the Air and Ground Deterrence Division that includes air defense, counter-intrusion, and rocket motor systems. Lieutenant General Thurgood, the floor is yours.
All right, super, thanks. Listen, it's super great to be here today. Very excited about this, a great panel with some great leaders across our nation. Jack, thanks for what you're doing for us and for the organization and what they do for the Army. First, let me just say it's really a privilege and an honor to be here on the stage with this particular group of leaders. It's very interesting that we have such influential people at a tipping point in our Army history, and I'll even say for our national history. This inflection point that we're at is really about the Army modernization and the material strategies. It's all anchored in rapid speed, iterative design, and operational urgency. And we see that every day when we wake up in the news. It's about continuous improvement. It's about continuous transformation. So as we look at the force structure for transformation, we look at the standing up of T2COM, the Transformation and Training Command, and the message from the leadership is clear. Today, and what we need for today is insufficient. We must transform. The traditional siloed approaches that we use in acquisition, where requirements, contracting, sustainment lived in different worlds, is now changing. It's being dismantled, and rightfully so. In the Army, standing up the portfolio acquisition executives to provide unity of command over the entire process as we build our fires, maneuver, sustainment, and other areas. So we're really lucky today to have these set of leaders who are actually prioritizing and establishing on the industry side and on the government side these priorities. Senior leaders like Mr. Tollison here to my right have emphasized that speed, adaptability, discipline requirements now must define how we do acquisition and how we build outcomes. It's not to reform efficiency alone, it's about battlefield overmatch. Mr. Tollison was appointed as the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army for Acquisition, Logistics, and Technology on May 5th, 2025. And as the Principal Deputy, Mr. Tollison advises the Assistant Secretary of Acquisition, Logistics, and Technology on all matters relating to Army acquisition. He comes with a deep set of experiences. Prior to joining ASOL, Mr. Tollison served as a professional staff member on the Defense Subcommittee at the Senate Appropriations Committee. He was the lead for the GOP staff member, including conducting budget analysis, program evaluation, over $170 billion portfolio for the Army investment and accounts. So it's natural that he would come to the Army as the principal deputy. Next to Mr. Tollison, we're super lucky to have someone from our innovation ecosystem. Tara Murphy-Dotterly has pushed us to rethink about how we connect commercial technologies and a military outcome, venture-backed innovation, how it supports our national security needs, arguing that the friction in the process, not the technology gaps, is probably the limiting factor. Tara Murphy-Dotterly is the CEO of Genovi. She has held leadership positions across technology, government, nonprofit sectors, including at Palantir Technologies. She served as the Chief of Staff for the Global Strategic Affairs in the Office of Secretary of Defense, among other senior roles. So we're super grateful to have you here to join the panel today. To her right is a friend we've grown up with for years, is Major General retired Todd Royer. Todd has been anchored in developing some of our aviation capabilities for our Army. Todd currently serves as Textron's Vice President and Program Integration Lead, and has assumed this position in February 2023. Prior to joining Textron, he began his 34-year career as a graduate from West Point, culminating the Commanding General of the U.S. Army Aviation and Missile Command. He's a 58 guy and Apache guy as well, so we'll give him credit for that. Yeah. And then we're really super lucky to have on the far right side, Matt McCurry, Lieutenant General Matt McCurry. He's consistently, in his role in T2COM, reinforced a simple but powerful truth. Capability delivered late is capability denied. The demand signal from the field is clear. Soldiers need integrated, survivable, and scalable systems now, not in the next decade. Lieutenant General McCurry is the senior officer serving in the Army's FCC as an Army aviation officer, also an Apache 58 guy, which is why they're so close together down there. Received his commission in 1988. He has extensive command experience leading the U.S. Army Aviation Center of Excellence and serving in key roles in Iraq, including commanding at all levels. So we're super excited to have the group with us here today. Across all of these perspectives you hear today, watch for a few emerging messages. First, the need to collapse timelines to meet required fielding, the transformation of our Army. The importance of experimentation and iteration with soldiers in the loop, sometimes we call that soldier-centered design, and the imperative to align incentives between government and industry, which we can do better at, and the recognition that acquisition is now a warfighting function. So today we have the perfect group to talk about this transformation that's happening in real time, the group that's actually making it happen under the leadership of the Department of War, OSW, and the Department of Army. So for the run of show today, what we'll do is each of our panelists will have some brief opening remarks, and then we'll open it up to the floor for questions, and then we'll conclude with some summary remarks. So with that, Mr. Tolson, I'll turn the time over to you.
All right, Neil, thanks very much. I appreciate that warm welcome, and you stole a lot of my thunder. And thanks to the panel as well for being here, and everybody else in the audience for coming here to hear us talk. I think these panels are really crucial. It's a great opportunity for us to hear from you and industry, as to get the real feedback, as to ensuring that you understand what we're doing, how we're doing it, and see if it's resonating with you, and really just tell us what's working and what's not. The alibi that I'll have is that we have just started this process. The Secretary of War gave us this mandate to really reform the acquisition process, and that includes small A acquisition, the requirements process, as well as the PPB process together. We in the Army, we lean forward on this pretty hard. We have the structure in place. We are moving to a capability portfolio management construct. We have 6 PAEs that are aligned against our warfighting concept. And the whole idea here is to be really laser focused on delivering integrated formation-based capabilities and improve the lethality of the force. Our focus is on scale and innovation. So how are we going to do that, right? So we can do that through having a PAE that is in charge of a portfolio that is aligned directly against the warfighting concept, that's empowered to make trades, to make real-time decisions, that's built around improved processes that are all built around data visibility and seeing ourselves. We're very excited about this. We have a very resilient workforce. I would say our acquisition workforce is bought into the reform. I think one thing that we're going to do at the command level is just continuing to capture their feedback to make sure that they understand why we're doing it and what's working and what's not. You know, the one thing I want to try to avoid is having, you know, sort of an optimism bias, you know, because what we really need this to work in that we want this to be a better system than what we previously had. You know, for decades, we essentially have organized ourselves in the acquisition world against individual siloed programs. You know, soldiers don't fight with individual programs, they fight with integrated capabilities. That's our focus, and we are going to deliver on that. And that would be why I would tell you that I believe that this acquisition reform effort is different than previous efforts, and there's been a lot of them, and everybody's tracking, I'm sure. But I feel that for us, we're already taking what we're doing and we're putting it into practice. And that's always been the challenge. There's always been a lag. The policy's there, it's great. It takes 2 to 3 years to implement it. That's not how we're going to operate with the leaders that we have now. So we're already putting it into motion. I would ask for a little bit of time, though. We've only been going at this for about 3 months, so there's lots to learn still. But I would just close real quick by just saying we can't do this alone. Industry is going to be a crucial partner with that, as well as our other Army partners here with T2Com, AMC, our labs. You know, this is a whole of Army approach, and we're acknowledging that we have to make change in order to actually maintain the dominance that we are required to do.
Great, sir, thanks. Tara?
Great. Well, I'm thrilled to be here, so let me start by echoing the thanks to you, General Thurgood, for moderating this panel, to AUSA for another unbelievable event, and to my co-panelists for joining this conversation. Of course, all of you for being here to engage, and we're looking forward to your questions. For those of you in the audience who don't know Gavini, we're a defense acquisition software company. And what that means is exactly actually what General Thurgood teed up earlier. We believe that part of the transformation of acquisition to a warfighting system that is requires also a change to process, specifically how the weapon systems and military programs that the department relies upon are managed. Today it's manually, still largely, although this is absolutely shifting and has been now for maybe a year or two in a really exciting way. Gavini was the first company to come out and say that you can use a combination of AI-first software and data, including data that isn't data already resident in defense data pipelines and IT systems. Think data about products, about technologies, about companies and suppliers around the world. You can combine those capabilities in order to manage the entire value chain of a weapon system and platform in order to drive readiness. That's the outcome of all of this. And the focus for so long in this effort to drive military modernization has been on the technologies themselves, or it's been on the policy changes required, the authorities that we need, the acquisition reform necessary. But at the end of the day, if you don't stop recording records of fires on paper or managing your suppliers in spreadsheets, you're still not going to get there, no matter how great the technology is. So that's why we built our software platform and are working across the Army and the Department of War today in order to really drive that change and readiness. I think the couple of points that I would make just as a tee-up, and they follow exactly Mr. Tolson's points, because I think a lot of us, frankly, are seeing many of the same things in this space, are that number one, current operations in Iran today are demonstrating the veracity of the statement that acquisition is warfighting. I have rarely seen so much emphasis on all aspects of the life cycle as we try to execute toward our military objectives. And specifically what I'm talking about is look at the emphasis on the Lucas drone and early stage prototype activities that are being deployed into combat, at the same time that there's a massive focus on the production of existing capabilities that we know we need and are being readily used today. And then you've got rapid sustainment of systems and platforms that are also in the fight. We, as a national security apparatus, as a U.S. military, are truly chewing gum and walking at the same time in terms of how we are focused on the military aspect, the battlefield aspect of this operation, but also very focused on the acquisition aspect of it too. And if that doesn't make the point that Secretary Hegseth was hammering in November, standing at National Defense University, talking about this transformation, I don't think anything does. I believe it certainly does, and I think we should all be paying attention to this. It reinforces the second point that I would make, which is this is not just a moment in defense and national security. This is the moment. And I do believe that to be true because last year I sat on this stage and I said there's never been a better time to be an industry partner working with the Army. I think things have continued to progress in a really positive way, and I would actually extend that statement to there's never been a better time to be an industry partner working with the Department of War. That's, I think, a remarkable statement, but it's because there is so much action behind a lot of the changes that we've been talking about as a national security community for more than a decade now. We started this conversation about driving innovation through acquisition and into warfighting capability in 2015. And here we are today with real change that is happening. Some change only 3 months in, some change, 6 or 9 months in, but it is all happening right now. To those of you who are working in the department or in the Army or are serving, what I would say is that my observation is that you have never had more top cover to drive change. And so take the chance. Industry wants to compete, so set up the competition. Try new things, because the visibility and the vocality of leadership that it is okay to take risk, that the department is willing to take acquisition risk, to buy down operational risk, that all strikes me as very sincere. And then when you get down to lower levels, we're still seeing a lot of the same old behaviors. Thank you for your new AI system. We'd rather build it ourselves. Thank you for all of this exciting progress on your prototype. It's going to take a year to contract this. That disconnect has to be closed, and the top cover, I believe, is there to close it. I think there's also a lot of will among many of you to do the same, and so I would encourage you to. And then the final point, Jesse already stole, which is literally that none of us are going to do this alone. And so one of the things we're very focused on at Gavini is connecting the department, connecting the Army and the other services to the industrial base. And we have to collaborate on what that looks like, because that isn't just about doing a better job of managing your primes. It's about creating the digital infrastructure and ecosystem so that you have visibility into the suppliers as well. And that is going to require the kind of risk-taking and acquisition that we're talking about. It's going to require mandating some of what you have just asked for in the past. But what we're working on and what we're seeing is that when you can get the incentives aligned, you've got suppliers, you've got primes, and you've got program offices all tackling the same challenges that they can see backed up by data in real time, or even better, ahead of the problem manifesting. And that is how we are not only going to ultimately move the needle on readiness, but it's how we're also going to instantiate this moment that is driving all of this exciting change, all for the benefit of U.S. national security and American interests.
Tara, thanks so much. Todd.
Well, I will echo the same comments. It's great to be here. Thanks to AUSA, General Thurgood, thanks, and the rest of the panel members as well. So I work for Textron. Textron is a manufacturing company at heart. We build things, and so for the rest of my comments, I'll primarily use MV75 as the basis for the discussion, just for what it's worth. We certainly in industry have heard it loud and clear, just as General Thurgood mentioned, the need to get capability to the warfighter faster. We all understand that and do that. From a manufacturing company's perspective, I would offer that there are certain things that industry must do to make that happen, and then there are certain things that industry and the government can do together to help facilitate that. On the industry side, I would offer three things that we kind of really focus on to help do that, to set the conditions to be able to accelerate things. So the Army asked us to accelerate MV75, by years, and we took the challenge, and we're open and ready to make sure that that happens. But that doesn't happen by accident. It requires several things to occur. And the first thing that it requires is obviously that we have to have the facilities to do that, not just the building, but the automation, the tooling, and everything to be able to get that ready to go. The second thing is we have to have the supply chain in place. We recognize that's an issue. And then lastly is the workforce. On the facility side, Textron has gone out already and spent about $1.5 billion or so to go ahead and get not only the buildings, but also the automation, the facilitization, the tooling in place to make sure that when we need to go ahead and start producing, it's ready to do it, and we can do it at the pace and scale that the Army wants. And so we're really proud of that effort, opening new facilities in both Texas and Kansas here shortly, and some of which have already built. On the supply chain side, we all recognize that's an issue across a lot of industry for the government as well. It takes a lot of dedicated efforts all the way, not only from your Tier 1 suppliers, but all the way to your Tier 2 and Tier 3 suppliers, a lot of which are mom and pop stores, right? And so consequently, getting all those aligned takes a lot of time and effort to do that. And so we really appreciate the Army going out with us to be able to help make sure that happens. I see both General Phillips and Colonel Paquette in the audience here today. They've been fantastic partners, not only just talking about it, but actually going with us to some of those suppliers, right, to make sure that they understand that demand signal is there and to do that. And then internally to our company, we then also took a look and said, hey, what are some of the critical components? And we decided to do those in-house. If the Army is going to look at somebody poke and say, hey, did you get it right? We want them to be able to poke us, right? And we're the ones that are responsible for getting it done. So a lot of those flight safety components we do in-house as opposed to sub them out to somebody else. And then lastly, on the workforce piece, industry is no different than the Army. I have come to learn that over the past 3 years. Talent matters, and you have to have it. And whether that's the engineer or the artisan on the shop, it takes time to build those skills. In Textron, we're very fortunate. Approximately 70% of our business is actually commercial. So we have a little bit of the ability to move some people back and forth. As programs go up and down, we can go ahead and have that capability. But we view talent management just as important as the Army does for itself, and try to make sure that we build the right bench to do that. So those are the three things I think that industry's got to do to help set the conditions. We're well on that path to get down there. But there's also a lot of things that we need to do with the government together. And the first one is establish that partnership. We need to have transparency and communication to make sure we do that. We're very proud of the partnership that we have with the government, specifically with PE, Maneuver Air. Absolutely fantastic partners, open lines of communication to do that. The second one is we make sure we have to have, consistent demand signal. No surprise, industry, does need a consistent demand signal. We're responsible to somebody, in this case, it's our board, to make sure that those are investments. And so if we're all speaking with the same voice and going down the same path, it just makes it a lot easier for all of us to get there. And then the last one I think is probably the most complicated that I would offer that we need to do together is be willing to change. So some of the change has already been discussed. Tara had some great comments there earlier. But a lot of times we have to do things, or we'll need to do things in parallel and not just sequentially. So that is an example of what to do. But then we also need to relook all the requirements. in its former life, General Phillips, when he was doing it, did a great job of taking a look at the requirements and said, okay, maybe here's some ones that we don't necessarily need quite as much, or we can kind of not shortchange the warfighter money, stretch imagination, but hey, maybe we can reduce the scale of that or the scope of it. And that is absolutely fantastic and a really an effective partnership. But that needs to be, I would offer, a running estimate. It cannot be a one-time thing. It can't just be a check the block. Yep, we got that done, and then 2 years later, we say the tent is up. You got to keep that going. We got to keep it as a running estimate. It needs to be a collaboration between us and the government and industry, and so we can take the demand signal, and then of course, then you actually have to act upon it as well, right? So if there is a change, whether it's up or down, then industry's got to be able to react to whatever the government requirements are. So at the end of the day, I think that obviously there's a lot of things the industry has to do, but from a production piece, that takes time, and it requires us to lead out, but then there's some things that we can do together to get faster.
All right, great. Thanks, Todd. Mac?
Thanks, everybody. Mac McCurry. Apparently I missed the target yesterday, so General Brown brought me back for retraining today. Happy to be on the panel. Commanding General of Futures and Concepts Command, here on behalf of General Hodney and the soldiers, civilians, and contractors that comprise Transformation and Training Command. We're just like Mr. Tollison said, we're about entering the fourth month here of acquisition reform, and I've been in the seat at FCC about 4.5 months. So a lot of change going on. Sir, thanks to AUSA and your team for putting this on, and Huntsville, the Rocket City, for having us back. These great panelists, Todd and Neil and I kind of grew up together in the Army, and when I was a young colonel, I had to go deliver some bad news on the Hill, and there was three staffers that I was going to deliver the bad news to at the time, and Mr. Tollison, Doug Bush, and John Wasson were the three. So I had to go take that wire brushing. It was good character development for me, so it's great to see you again, sir, and be working on these problems together. And I think by the articulate introduction, you know why Tara's up here, probably shining, showing us all up. Yesterday was all about ATI and T2Com stand-up and the functions of FCC, and today it's really about industry. So thanks to all of you that are out there to talk with us and dialogue. It's all about listening right now and figuring out how we can work better together. This is important work on behalf of the requirements owners that represent the operational force and the soldier on the ground. We have to deliver at speed and scale. Our adversaries are not waiting. They aren't bound by industrial-age stovepipes, draconian processes, duplicative decision cycles. They're moving out, and we have to move out faster. They're investing in tools to build their defensive zones and keep us away and limit options for our national leaders. They're investing in long-range fires, electronic warfare, cyber, and weaponizing information. They want to deny us access to infrastructure like ports and airfields. The character of war is changing fast. The battlefield's more transparent with ubiquitous and networked sensors. Technology punishes the unskilled. It eliminates slow decision makers and rewards fast learning and adaptation. No longer can we create weapon systems that largely remain untouched for 40 years. We must innovate and iterate. This kind of living and learning organization requires teamwork, and that's why we're all up here. That's exactly why our Army senior leaders implemented acquisition reform and established the portfolio acquisition executives. A great deal of the support, the direct support for the PAEs, comes from within my command, Futures and Concepts Command. The requirement writers in the Future Capability Directorates, the scientists out in the labs and centers, and the analytics support all come from FCC to support our portfolio acquisition executives. We've also realigned our Futures Integration Directorate along the lines of the PAEs, so there's a little bit of reach-back support for the PAEs into the headquarters as well. So how do we do this? We have to use imagination. Yesterday, if you were here, you heard me talk about I cubed over R equals FCC. I cubed is imagination, innovation, and integration. We want to imagine what is in the realm of possible. That's why we are out there talking with you in industry to help inform what we don't know what's possible with technology. We want to innovate from the ground up. You know, soldiers have great ideas. You never know how a soldier is going to use a piece of equipment until you put it in their hand. And that's the bottom-up innovation that we want to match in the middle with top-down experimentation. And then we have to be integrated across all the warfighting systems. All of this has to be underpinned by analytic rigor and informed by warfighting concepts. In closing, I'd just like to say the goal of FCC is that when that soldier steps on the ground, it's never a fair fight for the other guy. Back to you, sir.
Great. Thanks, Mac. So we'll open up to the audience questions, and I'll start with one. Maybe put a little bit of them on the hot seat here. Now, it shouldn't go unnoticed to most of you that the seating is deliberate, right? We have the material lead on the left side, the requirements and generation for our soldiers on the right side, and industry in the middle. That relationship that they've all talked about is really, really important in this transformation process. We spent the last day or so talking about the roles and missions of T2COM, of the PAEs, the CPEs. And so what I'd like to do is start with Mr. Tollison, then go to Mac, and then both of our industry partners. And here's the question. We're 120 days into this, as Mac said. What have we learned? What's gone really well? What do we see as things we're still learning and figuring out? From the government perspective and then industry, how do you see this happening, and what behaviors is that causing for you to adjust? So, Mr. Tolson, we'll start with you, sir.
Okay. Neil, I thought we talked about this, only softballs. So I think for our standpoint, from the acquisition lens, you know, I would say is that really organizing ourselves around portfolios and having PAEs, really having the governance structure. So we're looking at it from its culture, its process, its governance and management, and then we got to codify this to put it into practice. Having portfolios as a way to manage the acquisition space here has proven beneficial for us immediately. And I say that because the way we're able to do this now is we can do capability portfolio reviews, you know, where the AAE and General Hodney from T2COM can talk to that PAE, and everybody will be there. So the enablers are all on the line there. So it's the CPEs from the acquisition space, it's the requirements generators, it's the testers, it's the contractors, and it's the sustainment community. They're all there, and we go over the entire portfolio, and you identify exactly how these systems work together and what that mission thread is, and how do you pull that to create a really effective kill chain. And then what it's proven out is that we can do this in a very much a parallel manner. And what I mean by that is we can do acquisition along with requirements simultaneously. And we've been able to, I think, prove to Army senior leaders that we have the trust and the accountability to where we can make capability trades. And that's a big deal. You know, generally speaking, from a requirements standpoint, it would take, and Matt can talk to this, it can take years to get something through the AROC eventually. And that's when you're looking at one bespoke program. You know, now, when we do a capability portfolio review and we talk to the AAE, we talk to General Hodney, and then we elevate that up and we brief the chief and the secretary. You know, the chief now can see that portfolio. He can look at this and understand exactly how everything fits together. So that gives him the confidence and the trust where if we do need to make some trades here to get capability out into the field faster, he is willing to empower us to do that. And I see that as a tremendous, huge deal. And it's a real game changer in terms of just the culture and the mindset of how we operate. And Tara hit it right on the mark. It's that we're willing to take acquisition risk now in order to reduce the operational risk. So if we have to make some trades on our KPPs or on those requirements to get, say, the 70% solution out into the field faster, I think the AAE and General Hodney would be willing to do that. And what that does is it gives our CPEs and then our PMs a lot of empowerment, really, to where when they come up and they start talking to myself and to the AE and to the MILDEP through acquisition shaping panels, their COAs can be very aggressive in that they have been empowered to really take prudent risk. Whereas I think in the past, we were very good about managing programmatic risk, so cost, schedule, performance, and the Army acquisition workforce is really good at that. But now we're sort of opening up the aperture, and I think we're already seeing that level of empowerment and aggressiveness coming out of our guys. Super proud of them. So I think for us, even though it's only been about 120 days, we're already seeing quick turns. We've already done some capability trade councils on some major programs. We're seeing those results. We're doing a lot with Operation Epic Fury. Contracting has been shortened and reformed. So I think we're just starting, but so far the progress has been extremely good.
Great. Mac?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity for that question. I think, when you consider what is a portfolio acquisition executive, they were already an acquisition professional or a center of excellence commander, so they had one hat. If they were a center of excellence commander, most of them are also senior commanders of their installation. They're a force mod proponent. They're leading the warfighting system or function that falls underneath them for training, leader development for the operational force. They're doing all those hats, and then we said, congratulations, here's another one. Here's the portfolio acquisition executive. Some people would say, wow, that's a lot, and it is broad scope, but it's exactly the right scope, because now we have the same leaders that were responsible for doing the force mod proponency over the top of that portfolio, more clearly able to identify needs and solutions that fill warfighting gaps without a hierarchical process to go through to do that. So I think that's gone very well. Our PAEs, a couple of them seated up here in the front couple rows up here on your right, have done a great job of getting their arms around the portfolios, doing the base analysis of, here's what I have, here's the resourcing applied to it, here's where I still have some gaps, here's where I have opportunities, and that's a pretty quick turn for leaders that just took this role on. What do I think we owe them that we haven't gotten through yet is, I mentioned earlier, the direct support pieces from FCC and other parts around the Army that are direct support into the PAEs, but we didn't give them any other structure to help manage over the top of that portfolio. So I think we're working through what that looks like. And then in my own job jar, we're relooking the taxonomy of requirement documents and how that looks and where we can empower decisions at lower levels and what still comes all the way up to be, because it has to be endorsed by the service chief. So that's those are the things I think that we have not yet tackled that we still need to get after to support the PAEs.
Great, thanks. So a great perspective from the government side. Now from the industry side, as you see this change happening, what do you think is going well? What do you think is changing how you do business or think about doing business with the government? Tara, we'll start with you.
Sure. Well, one thing that I would point out is that I think just the speed of change and adoption that we have seen in the Army with respect to this acquisition reform and the PAE restructuring is remarkable and demonstrates how much the Army was really chomping at the bit to move in this direction by the time that the Secretary and OSW made these announcements. It showed that there was a tremendous amount of leadership in the Army that had done the pre-work of where do we need to go? What should this look like? How should we organize ourselves and operate in order to put into effect this acquisition transformation that needs to happen? And you can see with how quickly the shifts have taken place and the organizations have been formed. I mean, look at the other services. The Army is ahead. You have to give yourselves a little bit of credit for that. to see that there was a lot of collaboration with thought leaders who spend time writing about this. There was collaboration with staffers who were the brains behind the Forged Act and other initiatives. There was collaboration with industry who said, this is, what we see from our side. So that speed, yes, it's only been 3 months or so, but there has been so much that has happened. So that's part of what is working well. One thing that I would say is not necessarily not working, but is a onus that gets put on industry is to keep up with the changes that are happening internally so that we know how to engage. And in that regard, I would just say that one thing I think about at Gavini all the time, and I often say to my executive team, is that when you are rolling out a new initiative, or if you are delivering a message about something in the company that matters, you better be sick to death of hearing yourself talk about it. Because if you aren't sick of talking about it, you're probably not communicating enough. And so I do think that part of this overall transformation that needs to happen will require the Army to continue to communicate. Things are still changing, I'm sure. I can't track all the roles and responsibilities and how CPEs fall under the PAE exactly, but it is important that we, on the industry side, know with whom to engage, what's the appropriate level, and who owns what. And so as clarity is brought to those things, then I would say, please just be as communicative as you can be. Dare I say, be sick to death of telling us about it, because that helps us be better partners to you.
Great, thanks. Todd?
So I think I would start off with what hasn't changed, and I think that is really the relationship, right? So the gentlemen and ladies that are, leading the Army are the same people. They may wear a different color hat, they may wear an additional hat, but it's still that same trust and confidence in the discussions with them is paramount, and that will never change. So we need to make sure we have that regardless of what hat they're wearing. On the industry side, maybe what has changed a little bit is the roles and responsibilities, as far as the Army has changed a little bit. What we don't want is, industry all of a sudden now having, 10 people call General Gill or General Phillips. We want to help clarify those lines of communication. It's not necessarily helpful for us to do that, so we've got some internal changing that we have to do to make sure that we have the right counterpart that is talking to those leaders inside the Army that are responsible for those things. That sounds very mechanical, and it is, but we want to avoid some internal fratricide within the company, and then also with our Army counterparts to do that. The second thing that I would offer that we're taking a hard look at is as the Army moves within its portfolio to have a few more options of trade space, between programs, then we want to help be able to facilitate that. We want to be able to provide additional options back to the government. That doesn't mean that they're going to take them, and they may say, nope, not interested, that's fine. But we think that we at least owe additional options and say, okay, if you want to do this, then here's 5 different ways you can do that, and these are what the choices are. So from a very practical matter, I think we're looking hard, how do we accomplish that without overwhelming them, and still answer the mail directly that they want us to answer.
Okay, great. Some great questions from the audience. I noticed when Tara mentioned Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoints earlier in your opening comments, everybody in uniform cringed because we love those things, right? So let's, Tara, I'll start with you.
Sure.
So the question I think is, how do you as a software leader and a data leader in the industry see data and use data effectively? And then from the government perspective, how do we transform our love of PowerPoint and Excel spreadsheets to that domain to actually accelerate what we do?
Well, my guess is that most people in the audience have a love-hate relationship with those things, and for good reason. I think in so many cases, what we're trying to do is we're trying to use tools that we have relied on for one set of uses for a long time for a changing and expanding set of demands and requirements. And one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about this space is because I actually think that the community of acquisition, sustainment, logisticians, and maintainers are part of the beating heart of our military, and yet have been the most starved of innovative cutting technology to do their job. This is frankly a huge part of why I set out to fill exactly that gap. Yes, it will move the needle on readiness, but also at the end of the day, you have to give those people commensurate technologies with what we bring to the battlefield because they are part of the fight. So how do you affect that shift? You basically have to find the renegades. You have to find the people who are willing to say, yes, I will force my staff to do this because I know it's the direction that we need to go. And then industry, at least this has been our approach, has to be able to rapidly show value to those people so that the adoption is rewarded. I think that's as simple as it gets in the space of AI and software, especially now that the Department of War has been given a massive permission slip to use AI. The real challenge then just becomes, do you have access to capabilities that actually fit what you do? You know, retrofitting some commercial tool that is really popular in banking into managing a ground combat vehicle or a military helicopter does not sound like a recipe for success or going faster in my mind. It sounds like a tortured effort to try and do things the way that the private sector does them. Your jobs aren't like the private sector. Your jobs are really, really bespoke, and they have a very certain defined way of doing things. And what you need capabilities that understand that accommodate those processes, those requirements, but that leverage what everybody in the private sector gets, which is AI in particular these days, but also data integration at scale, interoperability with your ERPs and your core IT infrastructure. Those are givens that should be brought into this space. And what we've seen, for example, we're working with CPE Soldier to execute this entire acquisition transformation. The business that they do on the day-to-day is no longer done manually. It is done in the software platform. We can't build fast enough because the adoption is there. As you go from, I spend 2 weeks creating this report or this PowerPoint to I click a button and get a better answer and I get to now focus on the real substance of my job. That just drives the next requests. But it all starts with some leader saying enough is enough and we're going to go out there and we're going to try something new.
All right. From a government perspective, any other comments?
Yeah, I think from the T2Com perspective, this is an area that we are broadening a lot right now, exploring, because we have reams of data that is sitting stagnant across the Army. We've in my own warfighting system in aviation years ago, we put all these health monitoring systems on all of our aircraft, and you know, when I was sitting in General Gill's job, I said, well, how many TBOs have we reduced based on all that data and everything? And there's some safety, you know, analysis that goes into that. But part of it, I think, is the massive data task of scrubbing that data, you know, making it clean and verifiable, and then taking action that we just haven't gotten to. And so through a couple of things that T2Com has, the software factory, our artificial intelligence center, we are working to get more of our people trained in these tasks to be able to do those things for the Army. And then when we look at the data the Army has, you know, opening up these Vantage dashboards where we can see deep into the Army. You know, last week we were on the Hill doing some demos on some systems for some staffers that allow us to see across programs, that allow us to see in the sustainment side all the way down to, you know, which, to General Mohan's, you know, point, which tank in the Army is the worst tank, and where should we start our effort to improve readiness? Those kinds of things are what we're really trying to get after. I agree with Tara. It's got to come from the top down. Commanders have to say enough is enough. You know, I'm probably not at a point in FCC after 120 days that I can say, you know, not one more PowerPoint chart, but that's the vision, is to brief off live data, make decisions off live data, and not waste time building products.
Could I add to that? So, you know, from a sustainment perspective, I would absolutely 100% concur with what General McCurry just said. But I think the challenge is only going to get harder, right? So whether it's MV75 or M1E3 or XM30, those platforms are going to have so much more data that comes off of them, right? That is going to add to that storage, you know, requirement and be able to parse it. And if we truly want to be able to get to the requirement of increasing readiness and reducing costs based off the data, then we need to put the same intellectual rigor into, okay, how are we going to do that? Who is going to manage it? Where it's going to be stored? Who has access to it? And I think that's just as big of a challenge. And I think industry is absolutely ready to go down there with it. I know we're working on that really hard right now, certainly on V75, but really across the Army.
Okay.
Yeah, and then from an ASALT perspective, I would just say, you know, we've adopted ASALT Live, you know, and so now you know, everybody's got the same level of visibility into actual program performance, cost, schedule, performance. You know, so the AE is on it every single morning. I'm on it every morning. The MILDEP's on it, you know, and when we first started using it, you know, it did start from the top down. I mean, everybody was getting snowflakes dropped on them, you know, and it was kind of a shock to the system, I think. Because I know it would be for me if I was a PM sitting there, and next thing I know, I've got the AE starting to question some of the, you know, just some of the schedule slips in my program. Like, well, how do you know that? So what that's allowing us to do, though, is have that visibility to be able to really identify programs early and then take action on them instead of having to wait, you know, say 3 to 4 months at the next program review as to, okay, I had a schedule slip. What happened? Why is it happening? So we're seeing that in real time, and that's really changing the dynamic. And right now, the way we're working it is with ASALT Live, we're going to be briefing off that. So, you know, the intent here is to do away with PowerPoint. We're not there yet, but we are getting close. And, you know, just to kind of backstop, I think the rest of the panelists here too, is just, you know, as programs progress and everything is very much software defined, you know, essentially the amount of data that's there, we just need to be able to capture it, process it, and use it as a decision tool. So I think we have a big challenge ahead of us, but we're definitely, I think, moving out quickly.
Yeah, super. And I think that everybody mentioned or hinted to that learning how to use this data and how to create the data is almost a gap we need to build stronger on both sides of the equation. We'll go to one last question, and then we'll go to final comments for the panelists. So this last one is kind of a speed question. I'm going to combine two into one. So the first one is, and I'm going to summarize these. The Army has traditionally done a great job of learning from the past. Right now, Terry, you mentioned Epic Fury. We have the operations in Ukraine. So the question, the first part of the question, part one is how are we using the operational feedback to change acquisition? And then for the industry partners, how are you getting that feedback if you are, and how are you changing what you're doing to take advantage of what we're learning in ongoing operations around the world? And then the second part of that is, as we press and learn from that, what experimentation should we be doing different than we're currently doing? Mac, I'll start with you on, if that's okay, and then we'll just go down the row.
Yeah, thanks for that question. I think feedback and the loop, we're trying to speed that up in a couple ways. In FCC's lane, we have opened up our Forge database, which is where we hold warfighting gaps, where we define warfighting problems, gaps, potential solutions, and we've opened that up to the Army Service Component Commands. You know, with the other part of the reorganization of the Army in ATI that wasn't Transformation Training Command is Western Hemisphere Command and aligning forces to the ASCCs. So we had to rethink how we're getting feedback because we no longer had, you know, the 100-pound gorilla of FORSCOM feeding us stuff. And so we opened up those pipes and we rapidly got a lot of feedback from the Army Service Component Commands to then take and level set against our current warfighting gaps and see if there's others. And then if there's additional information from the operational force, we anchored it on those gaps that where it was aligned. So that's on the FCC side. On the CAC side, my battle buddy, Lieutenant General Jim Eisenhower, with his lessons learned managers, is out there at every training event, CTC, exercise, gathering data, and then they are linked at the hip with the future capability directors in FCC, and that's how we're speeding that feedback loop up real time from CTCs and training events directly back into the requirements lane. For experimentation, just real quick, this is a good news story if you're in industry, as we are vastly expanding our opportunities for experimentation by teaming exercise and experimentation across the board at the combat training centers, at theater exercises, with the pit. Colonel Shimon Dayan and I are teamed up on at the pit level to get innovative things happening out in the force and rapidly feed them back. We're assigning mission threads to units where we can inject technology. All that's coming from those lessons learned. And I'll stop and let the acquisition community have a comment.
Thanks, Todd.
Yeah, so first of all, I would say that industry has really benefited from some of those opportunities that the Army has put out there to get some direct feedback. In the case of MV-75, the cabinet was changed based off soldier feedback. There's been a lot of other pieces and parts that have changed just based off that direct feedback. So I think the Army's done a really good job with that, regardless of whether it was under FORSCOM or T2COM. Right, I would urge that we continue that effort. As far as experimentation, I think one of the things that's really been beneficial to industry so far is that the Army has allowed industry to go out directly to units and go get there and talk with them. Obviously, that's coordinated, but going ahead and have that. And it's not necessarily a huge laborious process. You can take a product, whatever it is, may not necessarily be an MV-75, but something smaller. Go out to a unit, let them play with it, let them take it to JRTC or NTC, get that direct feedback, and that's on the industry's dime, right? Because we value that feedback. We want the best product to be available for the Army, so we do it on our dime. We make the changes, and then come back to the Army and says, hey, this is what was done.
Great.
This question actually makes me think about next generation command and control in the Army context. So I'll maybe just draw a quick parallel if it's helpful and hopefully interesting to this group. The original vision of NGC2, as I'm sure everyone in this room knows, was the idea of integrating from sensor to shooter to sustainer to supplier. And so the role that we are playing in NGC2, which itself as a program is a great microcosm of the kind of rapid feedback loop and iteration that we need, ultimately at some point on the battlefield today, in divisions, in warfighting exercises, but where all of us technology companies are sitting side by side, our soldier users, and building on the fly and iterating together. But what we are doing there is connecting battlefield logistics all the way back to the sub-tier suppliers that are creating the components to eventually fulfill the maintenance needs, the repair needs, the sustainment needs, and frankly, for acquisition, the production needs of new systems. And so we're doing something similar, or I should say that in collaboration with the Army and the COCOMs, we are starting to see that happen today in support of Operation Epic Fury as well, where we're working very closely with PAE Fires, sourcing new production capacity, eliminating choke points, eliminating single points of failure in order to meet the production needs that are playing out right now as we speak. But then also doing that ahead of time to feed some of the future demand and what are the additional capabilities that are going to be brought on. I think if we can take that NGC2 framework of from sensor to shooter to sustainer and supplier and map it against what's happening today, you're actually seeing it start to manifest. And so that's a little bit of a different kind of feedback loop than, we've talked about with Ukraine, for example, where you're seeing rapid innovation to overcome countermeasures on drones. But in this case, incredibly powerful for the United States, where we're going to have such a demand for major power projection kind of capabilities. In other words, some of our major systems and platforms platforms aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And so we've got to be able to connect those battlefield needs to what the suppliers and industrial base can provide in timelines that just should make our eyes water compared to the way we operate today. So I think it's starting to happen, and that's just the frame of reference I have on that question.
That's super. Thank you.
Yeah, I think from the acquisition space, I think you're seeing it, play out just within our structure that are the PAEs. I think what's going to make the PAEs very successful is the fact that we're tied in with the requirements community. Where as we capture these lessons learned, whether it's through an overseas contingency operation or through transform in contact or through field level experimentation, we're able to catch it immediately and act on it. I think you're seeing this with drone dominance as a critical lesson learned from Ukraine, just the ability to be adaptable fast. I think it's showing us that we need to expand the defense ecosystem. It's showing us what the importance of the OIB is and working with General Mohan and AMC to create that resiliency and depth that we're going to need. I think it's really identifying to us the importance of MOSA and having open system architecture. It's got to be a business strategy now. It can't just be an engineering strategy because we're going to depend on that, I think. And then I think really what it's highlighting for us is just the production capacity and scalability that we're going to need going forward. It's forcing us to relook how we do long-range fires. Tara hit on this a little bit. It's having that production capacity and depth and the immediate ability to scale quickly is a huge part of not only being innovative, but then having that capacity as part of the arsenal of democracy and rebuilding that is going to be critical for us going forward. For us, it's creating the opportunity for us to look at things like low-cost containerized munitions and bringing in new entrants into that space, creating continuous competition, and then sending out that demand signal, to create new, innovative, novel ways of investment to where we can capitalize on the venture capital space and in private equity. Those are kind of the immediate lessons that I think we've already adopted and are trying to put into practice now.
Great. Well, listen, it's number one, thanks for the panelists for participating. I couldn't think of a greater set of leaders to lead through this dynamic change. This is hard. It's hard work. It requires constant communication and leadership. And the industry owns a part of this. And as we do this together, this linear process that we've loved and hated for the last 50 years is really historical at this point. And how do we adjust to that? So I appreciate the panelists. I appreciate the great questions from the audience. Please give the panelists a great round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage Lieutenant General retired Les Smith.
That was a great panel discussion. So this wraps Day 2's program discussions. Please join us in the South and East halls for today's networking lunch. Also, remember to explore the exhibit halls and visit the Warriors Corners in the Army exhibit. We'll have coffee tomorrow at 7:30, and we hit the ground running at 0900. See you this evening if you plan to come to the Rocket City Bash, hosted by AUSA's Redstone Huntsville chapter. Be all you can be. Hooah.